veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
well, welcome back. Welcome back to actually Aubrey, and we're doing safer dating today and finding safer love. We want to welcome our special guest, Sonya G from Let the Lady Speak podcast. How's everybody doing? How are you doing tonight, Sonya? You look wonderful.
Thank you so much. I'm doing well, Aubrey. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate it. Has it been warm enough for you today?
It is 100 degrees outside. Yes,
we could
exceedingly.
we could fry an egg on the sidewalk, basically, huh?
Yes.
Well, I hope wherever our viewers may be, whether you're in America, whether you're in South Africa, Canada, UK, I'm going to go on and on and on. You know, my analytics are showing, hey there, LNV. And thank you, Sherry Cardwell, for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. And want to say hi to our one of our esteemed moderators. I see the other ones coming in. Thank you for coming in. Hey there, LNV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you keep these people in line, girl. Monique. Monique King, also an esteemed moderator. Both ladies are members of the channel. So, guys, don't forget, if you want to help support our podcast, just go in there. There's a join button. Join the membership of the A team is what we call it. Join the membership. There's many other perks that you'll get. There's 4 different levels, so you don't have to be stressed about that. There's all different levels. And if you're in the chat tonight, just drop a heart or something, say hey there. You don't have to chat with us the whole time, but it's just nice to see. I see the numbers going up and I see people coming in. So holler at your girls, holler at your ladies here over here. Holler, holler. Yeah,
I
there you
know,
go.
right? Come on in.
Come on in the room.
Come on in.
Come on in the room. Right. So we are really excited tonight about this podcast because we know that I was just talking with a good friend of mine earlier today, and I was saying to him, I said, online dating is really popular. And he was like, but I don't know why. I don't get that. And I said, well, yeah, because amongst your set of friends and your demographics, everyone is probably happily coupled and they're content and they've been married for 40 years. That's the way it is in your group of friends, right? But, in the people that I know and in the much younger set, people are looking to couple. And the way people do it nowadays, quite often is they're doing it through online dating or using social media. Would you not agree, Sonya?
I absolutely agree. Yep, I do agree. I think it's convenient. And, we do everything else online. We order our food online. You don't really have to go outside. And there's the pandemic. And so I think that kind of pushed people to go online as well, just because of the pandemic. And we were on lockdown and people were trying to seek companionship however they could get it.
Yeah, the panorama. But even before that, I mean, because I myself, I don't do it now, but in the years past, I mean, like going all the way back to the late 90s, I've done online dating. I'm not afraid or ashamed to say it. I've done online dating and have had great success, So like for me, I consider success to be if I made a friend out of it. We didn't have to get married,
Right.
have children or any of those things, but did I meet someone worthwhile? Yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
And so if that's how people are meeting nowadays, then so be it.
Right. And I feel like to each his own. It's up to you. Personally, I like to meet people, but I don't see anything wrong with online dating as long as you're safe and as long as you're, happy, comfortable with it. I don't think anyone should frown upon it. You could find love how you find love. I know plenty of people who found love on online dating by online dating. And like you said, there are some people who meet good friends. Not every person you encounter or date is going to be in a relationship, or our relationship status. Some people are just friends. They could be a resource for later. You just never know.
Right, right. I mean, and that to me, that's kind of indicative of no matter how you meet them. If you meet them in church, if you meet them at school, if you meet them at work, everyone you meet is not going to be your lifelong love, clearly, because hopefully you're only going to have one or maybe two or maybe three or four of those, but you know at different stages. But you're not going to have 10, 20 lifelong loves, probably more than likely. So it just goes to me, it just seems like it's just kind of obvious that if you meet somebody, what if you meet someone and they just end up being a great friend and not the romantic connection that maybe you might have been looking for. But that doesn't mean, again, to me, that doesn't mean it's not successful. I feel like, because in this world sometimes it's hard to just meet friends. Once you get to a certain age, you're not in college anymore, you're not
Mhm.
just beginning everything in your life. You've been at what you're doing for a while. Sometimes it's just hard in the kind of world that we live in, where people are always rushing to go to the next thing, that sometimes we literally don't see the very people in front of us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And that's true because honestly, I think people don't realize it's really truly harder to find the one for you. It's harder than what people think. It isn't easy to find someone that you're truly compatible with, someone that you really want to be with. And that's part of the problem with dating because people try to fit people together. They're like, I'm going to make this person be who I want them to be instead of just accepting they're not the one for you. And that's
Right.
okay. Every relationship, every encounter does not end in a romantic relationship. It doesn't mean that's going to be your forever partner.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That that is very right. Well, let's see what we have here for some of our notes, and we'll get to discussing our thoughts on some of these topics that we have. So
Okay.
for number one, how to vet your date. Um, you want to go first, and then I have some things that I'll share. We'll go. We'll, like you said, we'll have a conversation about it.
Yes. And this is where I want to start though, in all seriousness. I feel like I wrote
Okay.
made myself some notes. I don't want to forget anything. Okay.
All
Number
right.
one, it's important to know your intentions for dating. All right, what are you dating
Mm,
for? Are you dating for before you vet, before you go out meeting someone? And you
okay.
can leave yourself room to change your mind. Because sometimes you think you're ready to date, especially after a breakup. You go out, you start dating again, and you realize I'm not really ready. And that's okay. But the best thing to do is to know what your intentions are. Are you looking for someone? Are you looking for a husband or a wife? Or are you looking for companionship? What are you looking for? I think it's important to know your intentions so it can keep you on track. Okay. And another thing I always say, you really, really need to know yourself because dating and dealing with people, and there's a lot of people, narcissists, things like that out here now. People will try to alter your reality. And if you're not solid in who you are, it'll be very easy for them to manipulate you. So get really, really understanding who you are is good. So go through your healing journey and also be willing to walk away. Don't feel like everything is going to be someone you need to tie yourself to. Be willing to walk away. Always, always, always be willing to choose you first. That is so important. So,
Give me
I,
that second one. After you said, "What are your intentions in dating?" You said, "Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me do this. Be willing,
be willing to walk away.
right? But
Know your
what was that?
intention.
No, I got. What was your intentions in dating? And then what was you said something else in between those two
Get to know
things.
yourself. Know who you are. Build a relationship with yourself.
Okay, because I'm going to put this back up here with the addendum to that. Okay.
Hi, lady.
Okay. Let's see. Hold on one second. You got to hit the right thing here. It won't save. Okay. Let me put that back up on the screen. Okay. So, what are your intentions in dating? Know yourself, and then know yourself first. And C, be willing to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
it didn't put the lines like I had it lines in it, and it was like ABC lined up under each other. But for whatever
Mhm.
reason, it doesn't do that. So I think it's because of the limited space on these note cards. So, but okay, so kind of walk us through some of this. Like, for example, what are your intentions in dating? If someone is dating, let's say, let's go with, first of all, let's say someone's just dating for simple companionship. They're not really looking for necessarily a long-term relationship, but they're not necessarily against having it if it should, work out that way. So
Mhm.
if someone was just looking for companionship in dating, what do you advise, or what do you coach?
I coach, remember that that's what you're looking for. So don't start making so say this person is like very much, I need to spend all this time with you. They want to spend all this time with you. They want to call you. They want to go on dates Monday through Friday. They want to be on the phone with you day and night. First off, I don't suggest all of that because you're giving up too much of your time. You're investing too much,
Okay.
and you're giving up too much too soon. But when you give up too much of your time, you invest too much. So if you get this barrier, right? So if you kind of like slow things down a little bit, then you can kind of keep in mind, hey, we are just friends. I'm dating for companionship. And you can communicate that. Let me communicate to you what it is that I'm dating for. So if this person is looking for marriage, you guys don't have to waste your time. That's another thing. You don't want to waste your time. You
Now
don't want
that's
to,
a very excellent point. Thank
yeah,
you.
you don't want to waste your time. So you make sure you're clear on your intentions. You guys are on the same page. You're in alignment and you're not wasting each other's time.
Right. That's
Yeah.
a very good point, because those two things are yeah, you should people should communicate that right off the rip. I agree with you on that.
Hmm.
And thank you again for our moderators for dropping Sonia's IG link. And you can find her on IG. Or you can sub to her. She also has a YouTube channel. I'm sorry, she has a YouTube channel, and she's also on IG. You want to tell them real quick your IG handle?
My IG handle is Let the Ladies Speak. And then my YouTube channel is Sonya G. It's Sonya G of Let the Ladies Speak, but just look for Sonya G because I'm going to drop the Let the Ladies Speak here soon. So,
Oh, okay, okay, all right
yeah.
then. All right, so I'm gonna leave that up for a second and go ahead. You were saying, so now let's go with the person that, let's go a different way. So let's say one of your clients is looking to date. Their intention on dating is to be married, to find a spouse, a potential spouse. So what would you say to them in that case?
So in that case, pretty much the same thing. You can communicate it. You will be able to assess to know whether or not this person is for one your type of husband or your type of spouse. That's the spouse you're looking for. They have the qualities that you're looking for, and you can communicate that again so you don't waste your time. One thing I find is that time is the biggest anchor that keeps people in relationships that they shouldn't be in anymore. They're like, oh my goodness, well, we spent all this time together. I've been with them so many years or so much time, and you feel like you've made this huge investment.
Mhm.
So you can't walk away, right? And it keeps you there longer than it should.
Oh my
So you
goodness.
don't want to waste your time. You want to keep this thing moving if you guys aren't on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so it gives you a chance to assess your this person. If this is okay, you guys both want to get married. Okay, now you can start looking at the qualities of the person. Is this person the type of mate, husband, wife that you want? Do they have the
Mm,
qualities that you're looking for?
okay.
You can start doing your assessment work from there.
Okay. Okay. So that brings me to B, the point you gave about knowing oneself, knowing yourself, knowing who you are first. If
Hmm.
someone, how would someone be well aware of themselves, that they know themselves before they start this dating process? How what would you say would be some clues or tips that this person is knows themselves well, and they're now prepared to go out and actually date?
When you know yourself, for one, you know what you're looking for, you know what you need in a partner, right? Like for me, shout out to Monique, shout out to everybody. Hi guys. But Monique says she's a poor communicator. So I'm huge on communication. So if a person can't communicate, I know I need someone who can communicate well. Monique, don't you worry about it. You can still get your point across, even though communication is a challenge. You can still get your needs met. But um, what I was going to say is, so that's important to me. When you know yourself enough to know that's important to me, if you know yourself well enough to know I need someone who is a little calmer than I am. Maybe you are, could kind of go off the
Yeah,
handle a little bit. You need a little
yeah,
balance.
kind of type A almost, maybe let's say.
Yeah, kind of fire. You need some yin to your yang type. Like,
Right,
you need
right.
some balance. Those kind of things. You know yourself well enough to, again, to know your reality. You're confident. And this is something that I think is so important. You're confident in yourself. You know
Mhm.
your triggers. You know how to manage your triggers. You're self-aware of your triggers. You know how to kind of pull yourself back sometimes when you're writing a
Mhm.
narrative that's not related to the current moment. So what that ex did, you putting on the current dude, and this guy's like, I just got here. Like, what you talking about?
I had to tell a friend of mine that the other day. I said, "Now, okay, you're a great storyteller. So now here's the problem. You're a great storyteller in real life, but sometimes when we're great storytellers in real life, what do? We write narratives in our head that are untrue, right?"
We do, yeah. We'll make up a whole story. We'll
Girl, go off the deep end
go off the deep end,
until
and
I
the
found
person
that out in therapy. I'm sorry,
go ahead.
excuse me. Until I found that out in therapy once, years ago, many many years ago, I found that out in therapy about myself because I also write fiction. And then when I found that out, I was like, oh wow, I do that a lot. So
Mhm.
I catch myself now. I really, actually, it's very rare that I actually do it anymore because I am so well aware of it. And then it's so funny because I see it in other people. And if they're not close friends of mine, I'm not going to point it out to them. That's for them
Yeah,
to do the work. Pay your therapist thousands of dollars like I did. No, you know, but
I know
but
that's
that's
right.
yeah, but no, but seriously, that's not something. I mean, if you don't know a person well enough, it's kind of intrusive to just
Mm-mm.
say, "Oh, by the way, I can see that you're telling yourself a story that you've made up in your head." It's
Mhm.
not for me to tell them that. I think if they're a friend and they're close, and they come to me with something that's going on, and then I can see, as I ask them questions and I can
Yeah.
see that that's clearly what they're doing, I will point it out if they're close enough. But if you're just a random person, no, I'm not going to point it out to you.
Right, no, and that's understandable because you never know how a person is gonna react, but when you know yourself well enough to know that, then you can it's better you can handle things when you're aware. When we try to deny who we are, it
Hmm.
makes it difficult to help someone else navigate our lives, but we expect for them to know. And then when we're writing these narratives, we made this story up. And again, you putting baggage off on someone else. And when you do that, it's a turnoff for them, especially if that person has been through their own healing journey or if they're in a certain place in their life. And here you come and you want to bring all of your past with you and put that on their doorstep. It's a turnoff and they're going to walk away. you know.
Mm.
Now, if they with the mess, they'll stay right there with you, and they be like, "I got my baggage, you got your baggage. We just go throw these clothes. We
We
just
just be toxic together.
it's just gonna be a fool fight of foolishness."
How about that? Okay, I want to mosey on over to see. Talk a little bit about be willing to walk away. What's that look like?
That looks like not tying yourself to a title of the relationship or just being with that person, not feeling like I'm going to be lonely or worrying about what people have to say about you, things like that.
Hmm.
Like Lori Harvey, I'm going to record that video tomorrow, but one of the things is Lori is willing to walk away, and that is a good thing because sometimes you stay in mess too long. Sometimes you stay in situations they don't serve you. They don't serve you. You don't even know why you're still there, but you're staying because really truly you're not willing to walk away. So that speaks to self esteem, knowing what you're worth, knowing you deserve better, knowing that you don't want to waste your time, knowing that there's better out here for you. So that's where being willing to walk away comes in. Because if I know my worth, I'm not staying here to deal with less than what I deserve. So I'm willing to walk away and I'm not going to waste any more time.
And that you're saying that, as I take it that you're saying that that goes to whether or not you're whether this is in the after the first date, or if it's after 6 months, or if it's after even 6 years.
Yes,
Be willing to
it's
walk away.
you got to be willing to walk away.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
to be willing to walk away. I know a lot of people don't agree with me with that, especially with marriage or like where you're married. Sometimes the death of a marriage isn't actual death. Sometimes the death of the marriage is just two people who refuse to pour into the marriage anymore. If you decide that you don't want to pour, if one of you decides you don't want to nourish this relationship anymore, you decide you don't want to work on yourself. Like I keep coming to you telling you something's hurting me that you're doing, you continue to hurt me, or I have
Mm-hmm.
a need and you continue to ignore my need,
Right.
you're killing a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm
You're
not
right.
talking biblically because I know a lot of people go strictly by the Bible and it's literal death. But no, if this relationship, if I'm getting nothing, and on top of getting nothing, I'm constantly being drained and
Mm.
taken advantage of and mistreated, and none of my needs are being met. You have to be willing to walk away from that.
Oh yeah, we got a problem. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say I'm gonna add this real quick. So one of my favorite persons and personalities here on the YouTube streets is and a lot of you guys already know her, is Janice Hilton, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that she talks about, that even within her own marriage that she illuminates, is that right from the very beginning, her and her husband, they started the marriage with a marriage counselor. And I think that is so wise. I think that is so sharp and so savvy. And I'm really not sure why more people, more of us don't do that. I think that people don't, unfortunately, I
Hmm.
don't think that people put enough value on mental health, on counseling on
Hmm.
the front end. And when I think about it, I used to have a saying that I used to tell other parents. I used to say, even to my family members, I used to say with their children when they were young, they're all of our children are grown now. Thank God. But I used to say to them, if you're not putting in the time and the patience and the guidance with your children on the front end, it's going to bite you on the back end. And I feel that same way about marriage and about counseling. That if you really wanted a healthy marriage, if you were to invest having a counselor, a marriage counselor, that you could
Hmm.
go to while things are good, and that maybe just a little certain things that come up, you say, you know what? Well, let's call the counselor. Let's have a couple of sessions and see what
Hmm.
how the counselor guides us to move through this concern that we both have, this issue or problem, however you want to term it. I like to say, sometimes I like to say concerns, but some people
Yeah.
will say problems, right? So if
Right.
you went to that counselor and this is a neutral party, a professional neutral party that you both have been seeing, you've seen them from the onset when things were good.
Hmm.
Imagine how easy things would be to work through that with some help. Because I'm not talking about calling your and nothing against pastors, because I have a wonderful pastor, by the way, which you guys will be meeting shortly. I'll be
Hmm.
bringing him on the podcast too. But nothing against pastors, nothing against your mom or his dad or your dad, but let's take all that out of it, because we know that typically those people have agendas, and
Hmm.
particularly family members, they have agendas, and they're not
Hmm.
necessarily for the marriage. I'm gonna be really frank. I talked about this the other day with Alex, my other co-host, and I was saying that, in our African American community, a lot of times people don't really even want to see your marriage do well, especially when you talk about some mothers of the groom, of the husband or the wife. Some of them that didn't have husbands themselves, were never picked, were never asked to be married. They
Hmm.
really are hating on the wife of their son. Okay.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
sometimes it's the other way, so you got a whole lot of things going against you. You could have like just family members, you could have girlfriends. Like I know my girlfriend, one of my close girlfriends, when she got married, they're just people hating on you because of the fact that at this point, and I hate to say this, but this is the truth. This is not something I wish, but the statistics bear this out, is that marriage is at an all-time low in the African American community. Let's be real, right?
mhm, mhm,
So,
mhm,
so just think about it. If you had a professional though that was for marriage and was for you and your husband to get along, how wonderful would that be? I just think that's an excellent idea. This is my little throw in there, my little tidbit or tip, is that
mhm,
we should also look at having professional counseling or coaches
mhm,
that are neutral parties, instead of just always putting the onus on our friends, who sometimes we may be blind to the fact and we don't see the fact that they really don't want to see us have successful relationships.
and you know what? And that's very true. Or they can't see past their own pain.
Okay.
So if I'm
Yes.
in a toxic marriage right now, I'm so a lot of times people are speaking to themselves, but they say they're speaking at you. I would never put up with this,
Mm.
but they're putting up with a lot, right? Like
Oh,
I would never put up with a man cheating on me, but they know their husband is cheating type deal,
projecting.
projecting,
Ah,
absolutely. Yes.
okay.
And a lot of people do that. And it is, and then another part of that is that when you constantly go to your family and your friends, then they get this image of this person. And if you two work on it and work past the problem, then they're still looking at that person's side eye, right? It's harder to forgive. And so then they have that. So I agree. The projecting is an issue. I think counseling and coaching is excellent to do on your own because it doesn't mean you have a problem. It just means you're trying to get tools to help you with relationships. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. We're coming from two different lifestyles. I come from a single family, you come from a single parent family home, you come from both parents. Um, how do we navigate this together? Because we only know what we see. So I may only,
Yes.
there are a lot of men out here now who are like, my mother did everything. So they think that women do everything, right?
Oh,
Whereas you
girl.
haven't.
Don't take me to that moment in Ready to Love history with Dante and his silly arse brother. I mean, when he said that, I almost fainted dead away. I said, you know what? This just goes to show
Mhm,
when you've grown up with a single mother and she's been Hercules for you and your brother, that you
mhm,
are silly enough to sit up and think that that is the norm and that every black woman or every woman, period, wants to be this strong, independent woman and then still have a man and a relationship. Nobody. If I'm going to be that strong and that independent, guess what? I'm going to be by myself.
I'm going to
Now,
be
if
by
I want
myself.
to be in a relationship, how about we have something called interdependency? How about that?
Right. Right. But for some people, honestly, they don't know. They just don't know what that looks like. They have no clue what that looks like. If you
Now
keep me
that
in the
is
box
true.
for, yeah, if you keep me in the box and then take me outside, I've never seen outside. I don't know what that looks like. And so that's the problem. And they think that. And that's why, like, you find these things out when you're dating, when you're vetting. What kind of what does love look like to you? What does relationship looks like to you? What does partnership look like to you? You want to get that information. I mean, don't rapid fire the questions, but you want to get that information so you know if you two are on the same page and if they are willing to get help, like you said, because that is therapy and counseling is excellent to help you. I'm telling you.
You know
I
what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking to myself, I guess I was kind of thinking out loud. I just couldn't hold it in. I was going to say that's going to be one of the questions on my list from now on. If I ever am in the marketplace for a partner, that's going to be one of my questions. And I don't think I've really ever asked that before in the past, is that how open are you to counseling? And then follow up questions to that question, because I don't want to ever get serious about somebody and then find out after the fact that they're not open. And particularly, I'm going to say it,
Mhm,
black men that are
mhm,
not open to therapy. They're not open to counseling. They're not open to any kind of life coaching or any kind of guidance because, well, I don't want strangers in my business and our personal business, and that's just weird. And that's what other people, other groups of people with
mhm,
different skin complexions do.
mhm.
No, boo, it's what people that want healthy relationships are willing to do to help the relationship.
Yeah. And you know what? Let me just say this I had a client that had a breakthrough last week. I was super excited. He's a male. And at first he was
Wait
like,
a minute, hold on. Let me get some applause for that client.
yeah,
Go, client, go. I'm so
I
proud of
really am
you.
proud of him. Because at first he was like really resistant, but he was still book calls. And I'm like, okay. Well, now he's met someone, he's really into her,
Ooh.
and he doesn't want to mess this up. And he has a bad habit of reacting before thinking things through. And
Ah,
so he
okay.
called, he booked a session and he was like, well, how do I, because she's extremely neat. So she's kind of like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And his last partner didn't care what was going on with him. She just kind of lived her life. Right. And so he was trying to reconcile that. So we met and we talked and he asked about attachment style, so I gave him some book recommendations. But one of the things that he did, he's like, I really want to be able to communicate with her. And my suggestion to him was because she has trust issues, because that's her issue. But I don't work with her, so I don't want to talk too much.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but I said, what I want you to do is I want you to tell her in that moment, don't react, just tell her you need to process this for a little bit. Like, let me just think about it for a little bit because it may not be anything wrong. I'm like, just tell her what's going on without saying too much. So instead of blurting out with the things that you would normally say, because you don't
Ah,
want to hurt her and you can't take your words back, just wait a minute. Tell her to give you a minute. I said, but don't break the trust. So you have to
mm,
come back and you have to tell her what's going on and don't wait a week. Give it a day or so and come
okay.
back to her and let her know, you know what?
Wow.
You were doing this and it was bothering me, but it really wasn't a big deal. Like, give her the whole
Mm,
picture. A lot of times we keep everything in our head and that doesn't
right.
help your partner, right? So I said
No.
that'll help ease her anxiety and also give you room to process your feelings and your thoughts and try to work through this, especially since it's new for him.
And I just want to say I've got a very special friend in the chat tonight, and that's Dougster58. Hey there, Dougie. Dougie is in real life friend of mine, and also part of the tips that I'll be sharing later on to during this podcast. Help me out with those, okay? And Dougster also has, guys. I want you to check this out. Detroit Stories, The Killing of Daniel Thomas is on Apple Podcasts. And I'm going to put that in the chat a little bit later on when I have time to type that up, because definitely this man is a excellent writer, orator, and just we were just talking a moment ago before Dougie came in about storytellers. uh Dougie is that guy that can tell a story and you'll be sitting there listening 2 hours later wondering where the time went, because he's just a great, tremendous storyteller. Okay. So I want you guys to know about my friend Dougie. But go ahead. Um, so this guy, he sounds like he's had a breakthrough in
Mhm.
therapy.
He did. He's had a breakthrough. And like now he
Wow.
comes, he takes notes, he books, and like I said, he wanted to do this. He wanted a book recommendation. We did the book recommendation so they can read it together and kind of work on their style so they can communicate. He's doing really well. I'm really proud of him.
So would you say when this gentleman, and when he started, though, he just seemed like maybe he wasn't at first really into it, but what did it take? What do you feel like it took for him to get okay with actually going to having coaching sessions with you? What do you feel was the point where he had that turnaround in his interest and his ability to just apply some of the things that you were trying to share with him?
He has a major breakup and he's ready to have children and get married. And he just feels like he keeps doing something wrong and he wanted to figure it out.
Wow. And I'm going to tell you something. As a woman, I've seen this so many times. Like, the one thing I can say, like, to me, women don't really control when they get married. They really don't. I mean, they can
Mm-mm.
be prepared as women to possibly be wives. They can desire marriage, but the man is really the one who does the picking. The woman has to say yes, of course, but I've seen it over my lifetime. I've seen it like it's a look and it's a behavior and a way a man moves. When he is really serious about finding and having a wife, he will move heaven and earth, because that man says, you know what, this is what I want. Ladies, just know that when a man, all these men that you ladies are dating that have had
Mhm.
some of your friends or maybe even you engaged for 10 years, engaged for 5 years, dating for 13 years, like, and you say you want to be married, just know that you're not, like, to what something, Sonya, you said earlier, be willing to walk away, because a man that keeps you on the hole for that long, he doesn't really want you probably as that serious commitment as a wife or whatever it is you're looking for. So just make sure that you're evenly yoked in that area, if that's what you really want.
Mhm. That is so true. He will drag. He'll use you. He'll take advantage, but he won't commit.
What's this, LMV? New late breaking news. The likes are being hidden. Guys, please like the video. You know that helps us in the algorithm. Please do us that favor and give us that thumbs up. Okay. Even if you're just here and you're cruising through and you decide to come back and catch us on the replay. If you're watching the replay later on, please hit that like button. Don't be stingy. It's free 99.
Yes, it is. Hey.
Oh, yeah, there's another one. Hey there, Misha Allen. How you doing? Another content creator, great lady there. So continuing on, let me get back to my note cards because I do get distracted. And so how we're vetting these dates. Okay, so
Mhm.
now I'm going to start giving some things that my friend Dougie that I was just saying hello to, some
Mhm.
things that he shared with me along the way, like I said, and he thinks this whole idea of online dating and social media, because I think also, so I say online dating, which also I guess includes social media, because I didn't know this. Now like I said, when I was doing online dating, it was actually online dating like eHarmony, and
Mhm.
I guess people are saying Plenty of Fish now. I never did Plenty of Fish because that wasn't out back 101 years ago when I was doing online dating. uh,
Mhm.
I try to remember this one thing that I had really but anyway, but now people actually use, so their social media accounts, let's say like IG, Instagram, or Facebook, or even Twitter. They're now meeting people in groups and on their page, people coming into their DMs, and that's how people date now, right?
Yeah.
Some of the things that Dougie shared me, and Dougie, forgive me if I slaughter this because I'm not nearly as eloquent as you are when you were giving me this. And by the way, I was writing this on my hand as we were speaking earlier today because I was out for my walk. So I had no paper, I had a pen, and I was writing this stuff on my hand. Okay.
Mhm.
So we want to talk to the guys. We want to talk
Mhm.
to, or guys talking to women. This could go either way, right? So when
Mhm.
you're vetting a person that you're dating, you want to ask lots of questions.
Yes.
Questions are important. You want to find out things about their employment. What do they do? Where do they do it? How long have they been doing it? Right?
Mhm.
And just a follow up question, a simple question. What do you think about this, Sonya? Do you like what you do?
Mhm.
You know, and why would you say like something like that question right there? Do you like what you do? Do you enjoy it? Why would that question be important to ask a date?
One, for one, primarily, you want to know whether or not he has purpose and passion for something.
Yes,
A man
exactly.
without purpose is like a man without a country, and that can be dangerous because a lot of times they're not happy. A lot of times they're not settled within themselves, so they don't show up well in a relationship, you know. And if they're unhappy at that job or in their career, what do even if that is the case? Because sometimes you got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, right.
yeah. So what other I would add to it, so what are you passionate about? What are your hobbies? Like what makes you happy? What makes you smile? What warms your heart? Or whatever terms you want to use. You just want to know there's some balance there.
Mm-hmm.
But
There
you
you
want
go.
to know that a man is walking in his purpose because he will be a frustrated man. And people take their frustrations out on their loved ones usually, especially their mate.
That's the reason. Thank you. You
Mhm.
so eloquently stated what I couldn't even put it into words, but I know it's important.
Mhm.
Absolutely, like you said, because and a good point that you brought up. So maybe not all the time are we in our professional lives or our work lives working at the job that we really truly want or desire, right?
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
that's in our field or what we really could see ourselves doing potentially. But
Mhm.
maybe that person, for example, volunteers. Maybe
Right.
they do something on the weekends. Maybe they're doing that job and it's just a job for right now, but maybe they're also in school part-time, that so
Right.
that 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road, or 6 years even down the road, they'll be graduated and they'll be able to work in that more closely in that purpose. But just
Mhm.
for somebody to say like I had an ex like that, by the way, so I totally get it. So like
Mhm.
he hated his work, right? Even though he was a professional man, and a lot of people would have looked at his profession and the amount of money that he made, and status and all that, a lot of people would have been totally fine and happy with what he was doing and what he was making and earning, right? But
Mhm.
he hated it, so it didn't matter what other people thought, because oftentimes as we got closer, like you said, he brought that frustration into our relationship that I had nothing to do with. I don't have anything to
Mhm.
do with your job. We don't work
Right.
together. I'm not your boss. But
Right.
very
And
good
it messes with their
point.
self-esteem. You know, it bothers their self-esteem because they feel some, not all men. I don't like making blatant statements, so not all men in this case, but a lot of times if they don't have a passion in the other in any other areas, or they're
Mhm.
not walking in their purpose in their career, it can bother their self-esteem. And especially if you, as their partner, their woman, is flourishing. Like if you're going to
Oh yeah.
school, you're doing well, you're living your
Mhm.
life, and then that causes problems as well if he has issues with self-esteem. He doesn't have a purpose or a passion. So how are you, exploring your passion? He could be doing music, he could draw, he could work with youth, whatever. But I always tell ladies, make sure the guys that you're dating, the men too, actually, make sure that person has passion and a purpose and they're pursuing it. Even if they're not thick in it, they're pursuing it.
I'm gonna have to have you come up at some point, Monique. Maybe I should be dropping the link right now because I want to hear this story. Former
Oh,
fiance met on Twitter. Oh my goodness, Monique, wait a minute. Are you following me on Twitter? Because you know I finally got on there, so I need you to follow me, and I'll follow you. Okay? You met your former fiance on Twitter,
being
being fast.
fast.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Lord have mercy. I know that's right, Angel. How you doing tonight? Welcome in, Angel. Yeah, you tell them about it, girl. You tell them. But sometimes too, you have to refresh because I'm assuming that all the people in here are good, honest people, and they've already hit their like button. So I'm gonna assume. Wait a minute, what is LNV saying? LNV said I met my ex fiance on. Well, girl, you got to help me out. Maybe Sonya can tell me. Sonya, what is tagged? Is that
I
something
don't
I'm
know.
missing out on?
Is
LNV,
that another dating app?
yeah, put that in the chat because I'm not. I thought Sonya, she's youthful. She would know about tag. I don't know nothing. I've heard of plenty of fish. And what's this other one? Name some of the online dating, Sonya, that you're aware of. Would you name some of them?
I'm only aware of Tinder
eHarmony,
and
Tinder. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a dating apps person. I tell people if you want on like dating app, I'm not your girl. I am a relationship person. I can help you learn to communicate, problem solve, assess a situation to determine if that's best for you. I can tell you how to be safe, but I don't deal with the dating apps. Honestly, I'm be
Well,
honest.
no, I'm not saying that you necessarily dealt with them, but I guess I'm just saying that maybe I didn't know if you knew of them or not. I'm sorry,
Mm-mm.
putting you
No,
on the
I'm not saying
spot.
it like that. I'm just saying I'm like, "Ooh, what's tagged?" I'm right along with you. I'm just saying we're in the
Yeah.
same boat when it comes to the titles. I don't know.
Right. Because I'm not aware of this tag thing, but
Mhm.
I know what I was like. I said, I'll tell you something that just what maybe a couple 2 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember when I was became aware of it. I just really wasn't aware, but but then when I thought about it, I said, well, actually, it makes perfect sense because I've met. Now I'm gonna say this: I've met friends. I mean, literally, like friends, girlfriends, guy friends on
Mhm.
social media since I started social media. Like what?
Yeah.
I basically started social media. I'm gonna tell you a true story, which is really kind of strange. I started social media to keep in touch with my daughter, who at the time had went away to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, right?
Mhm.
And so I started a social media account because back then, when they went away for plebe summer, which plebe, by the way, is a Navy term for freshman, right, for college. So when she went away, there was no communication. They take their phones away from them. They can't text. They can't call. Like say maybe on the weekends, if it's a good weekend, they may let them call you and talk to you for like 10 minutes and update you. But social media at the time, which was Facebook, was a way for us to keep in contact. So I started my Facebook account, and it was really just for my daughter and a few Navy friends that I have, a few Navy mom friends, right? And then it just grew and grew and grew. And of course, she graduates, and after even I think even before she graduated, she got upset. She came home one year, like probably her sophomore year from college, and like I probably had 100 or more of her classmates that were my Facebook friends, and she came in, she was at the house, and I went to use the bathroom, and she goes on my computer, and she unfriends all of them. Like, kids, they don't want you to really be friends with their friends, right? Because that'd be too
Mhm.
much. Like they might tell you something that you don't need to know. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's my story. I'm getting off track. But I said all that to say, yeah, that people on social media that meet in groups, I know of people that have gotten married from somebody was in let's say, for example, a jazz loving group, a music loving group.
Yeah.
They meet and they, the group starts about one interest, and they find out they have other things in common. They live in the same area or region,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads to a romance. Let me see. I'm going to go down and read just a few more comments, and then we're going to continue on. Misha says, yes, a lot of men on these apps want to see where things go and have no purpose. Okay. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what, Misha? I guess, but again, because I'm not really prejudiced against online dating. So my thing is, so you can meet a guy in church, you can meet a guy at work, you can meet a guy at school in real life, and the
Mm-hmm.
same thing would be applicable, right? A
It would
guy,
be.
men in general, and I'm going to say this, and it's a generalization, not all men, but many men in general really just want to, like you said, in quotation marks, and we know what that's all about, getting in them panties and them pantaloons. That's really their only purpose. That's a man for you, right? I mean, many of them. So that doesn't have to be an online thing. I think that women that aren't aware that if your dad didn't teach you growing up, or your uncle or your grandfather, that what men want is what they want. That just
Mm-hmm.
applies to me across the board for many men.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if there's some more comments here, because I know you guys are chatting amongst yourselves too.
They
So I'm
are.
trying
It's hilarious. I'm
to.
enjoying the side chart.
I'm gonna have to catch it, because when I'm
Monique and
running the,
Ellen.
who is it, Monique? Who should I watch out,
Monique
son?
and Ellen.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're always clowning. Good gracious.
I'm here for it. I love it.
Okay, let me. I'm gonna randomly. I'm gonna click on this and hope and pray that it's something that's generated toward what we're talking about. I'm gonna let you read it. Would you read that, Sonya? Can you see that?
Yes, I'm just coming in. Do you think the amount of time slash longest a person is on a job help to gauge stability, or someone who runs away quickly? Yeah,
Hmm,
if they, again,
good
it
question.
shows lack of purpose. Like, they may be just searching. And the person, listen, there isn't anything wrong with it. You got to figure yourself out. But you, as the person that could be dating them, that would be concerning to me, because you're lost. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you're looking for, because you have to go apply for these jobs. So then you leave. So is it your attitude? Do you, what is going on that's making you jump from job to job to job to job like that? A person like that, I would let them figure their life out. I wouldn't continue to date that individual. I wouldn't recommend that you continue to date someone at that stage in life.
Yeah, I guess, and another thing she brought up in her next, and I'll go back to that. Her next comment is she's saying, I'm just going to get to the part where it says early to mid 30s. I think
Mhm.
that the age is going to make a difference. So if I'm talking about somebody in their early 20s and they're going from a job to a job in their early
Yeah.
20s, or late teens, let's say some teenagers actually listen to this podcast. Probably not, but if
Mhm.
they are, not so big a deal if the younger you are. But the older you get, and let's say,
Mhm.
you've had some schooling, you've had some education, some training, and whatever it is,
Mhm.
or even if you haven't, but just to be running and leaving a job,
Mhm.
you would want to find out why.
Yeah.
Why are you
Mhm.
every 3 months changing jobs? Are you not happy? Is there, because I'll tell you another thing that sometimes you'll see, sometimes there's a personality issue, and that's going to surface in your relationship if that person has one. So maybe
Mhm.
they have anger issues. They're always getting angry. They jump at the least little thing, and they want to curse people out, and they want to be real with them. I want to keep it real. I want to keep it 100, and this is what
Mhm.
it is about you, and you dirty mother, do 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 da da da. Okay,
Mhm.
now you're not gonna talk to me like that. You're fired. So that's
Right.
like that in real life. If somebody's coming at me in real life with that kind of, they got a temper, an emotional regulation problem, because there's people that just have problems regulating their emotions. That's a real issue. You can have that on the job, and you can have that and bring that home in real life. Who wants to be bothered with that?
Exactly. And again, they'll be frustrated because they're not happy with their life. They can't get the job they want. And then too, you got to think about someone who constantly gets into conflict with everyone at work. Like you said, emotional irregularity. And if they can't regulate their own emotions, that's not good for partnership. Let me just say that. So as the frustration goes, and like I said, if you keep living your best life and this person can't get it together, then oftentimes you'll become the brunt of their frustration.
Okay, and I gotta read this comment. A safe one finally. Where's my applause machine at? Hold on a second. Hold on, let me get it. Woo! Thank you, Kia, for saving the day. Cause them other people, that Monique and that Ellen, they're a mess. Yes. Yes, you can meet some awesome people
You
in these
can.
internet streets. That is true. I mean, that's what I say. I don't understand. Even Misha is saying no, 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 no online dating, and she's young. She's really,
Mhm.
really young. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
she's my daughter's age. So like I don't understand that, but I respect it. If that's how you feel, that's an individual thing, right?
Right.
Because I have met some awesome people online, and I'm not gonna hold you up. I've met some people that I would, if it's the world and against us and them, then you know what, I'm in their corner because that's how dear they are to me. But I think people
Right.
look at it differently. But in this modern world of technology, that's really how the bulk of, I think, 65 to 70% of the people who are dating now, that's how they're meeting, is online.
And that's true. And that's what I'm saying. Like, what works for you? Your preferences? It's about your preferences. Because I'm not an online data person, but I have built different relationships with people online that I just, I love these people. I really care for them. They're really great people. So I'm not speaking against it. I don't think that there's anything against it. But as far as dating, it's not for me. But I know a lot of people who do well. I don't know if you guys watch Black Love.
I
Um,
do.
you
I
do a lot. There are a lot of people who met through DMs on Black Love. They'll tell you.
Yeah, a lot of the celebrities. So, ladies, if you're looking for a baller, I met my baller, but it was back in the day before online dating. I was just going through Saks Fifth Avenue, so who knew, right? Who would have thunk? I was meeting my
Yeah.
girlfriend for brunch, and he was with Rick Mahorn. I'm not going to say
Hmm.
his name. He's not Rick, but he was with Rick and he played with the Pistons, right? And
Hmm.
they saw me. Rick, I knew Rick actually personally. And so Rick was saying hi, and I went and shopped and did what I had to do because I was there getting a pair of shoes or whatever it was. And I came back down the escalator, and
Hmm.
they were still there. So Rick waved me over and introduced me to this tall, handsome. Anyway, so that's how that happened. But on another note, people are just meeting them and going in their DMs. So I didn't have DMs back then, but if that's how it works for you, I mean, whoever you want to meet, this day and age, if they're on IG, they're accessible. I'll just say that.
Right. Right.
They are accessible, so you can just knock yourself out.
Go to
you know,
town.
go to
Yes.
town. What is Monique saying?
Listen, I'm a, when I watch back, I make sure you keep the comments on because I
Okay,
want to
okay,
review
let me
all these comments.
these people. Thank you so much. And this is another one. Okay, so some of my people serious here. Team Gravely, thank you so much for sharing us out. Yeah, help this and you guys. So that's part of it. If you can share it, if you got a community tab, if you're a content creator, please share this video on your community tab. Misha Allen. You could do that. I would really appreciate it. Jeremy Speaks, by the way. I've been meaning to get with you about a couple things I want you to share on your community tab for me. Help a sister out over here. People say they love Black people, but sometimes I can't tell.
That's too funny.
Sometimes I cannot tell. But let me see. Let me see. What is Roro saying? Because she's gonna have something to the point. Okay. Roro says, I met two younger women yesterday who complained in online dating, stating most men want to go. Well, yeah, but see, but that's what I just said, Roro. I really am a firm believer. My dad taught me, that that's what, and my mother too, that's what most men want. That's what, back when I was a teenager and I first started dating. So when does that change, right? When
Mhm.
does that change? It doesn't. To me, I think I go into most situations with men assuming that's what they want, right? Until they show me differently. Do they really want to get to know me for me as a human being, as a person, or am I just a big V box for them? Right?
No, so here's the thing. This is what my uncles, my granddads taught
Okay.
me. I have one uncle who owned a barber shop. He used to have me go sit at the barber
Oh,
shop. I
girl, the
would go to the
barber
barber shop
shop.
and he would just have me listen. I would sit
Mm-hmm.
and after a while they would forget that I was there and they would just
Yes.
talk. Men, for the most part, are visual creatures. They are attracted to your vision, to your visual first,
Yes.
right? And I think we just have to understand that, okay? That they see you, they're attracted to you, and as my uncle would say, they just want to have sex with you initially. It takes them getting to know you to know if you are the one for them now, or if they want more interest. Like that's when they start to see your value. They don't look at you and say, oh, you're a valuable woman. They may look at you and say, oh, she's classy, she carries herself well, or I like the way she speaks. Depending on the environment, they may say something like that, but for the most part, the first attraction is a sexual attraction,
Of course.
and then it moves on from there, right? But there's some people who
Hmm.
are all they're looking for is sex. We are like, oh, I want my husband right away, or I want someone serious right away. And we're thinking about the whole picture. They're thinking about the whole picture too. But initially, most men, not all, it's a sexual attraction first. So the best thing to do is to show up and show your personality. Just be you, show up and show your personality. Take your time. Don't allow the sex conversation to have like set those boundaries and then see if you two are a good match. Just don't go along with it, but don't get upset because men are visual creatures and they find you sexually
Mm.
attractive.
Oh, absolutely. Again, you said it in the most eloquent way possible. You're right. In meeting a man, it doesn't necessarily make him a bad person or a bad man, or doesn't mean that he may be ready for something deeper. But as a woman, our job is to control the pace of dating, right? Control
Mhm.
the pace of dating and the relationship. And if you allow a man to say, "Oh, you look so good, girl," and this, that, woo, 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 this and that. Oh, and by the way, I see what you're saying, Jeremy, about the ballers back in the day. Well, I could tell you some stories. If I needed to write a book, let me tell you, it'd be some names in there. But
Listen, do tell. Let me.
but okay, all right. You made me forget what I was trying to say now. But no, but women control the pace of things. And if you think that, a lot of women today, like with all this IG, see, I didn't grow up in that era, so I had the good sense or the foolishness to think that um I matter, and I still think that I matter. And
Mhm.
so what you weren't going to do even then, this person that later became we became close, we became had a very special relationship. um
Mhm.
what he wasn't going to do was, because he was a NBA player, what he wasn't going to do was just like make me feel like I had to do and impress him, because I really truly believe that women are the prize. I really do. Now that may sound sexist, because guys are saying, well, why aren't I the prize? Because this, that, and the third, I earned this, or I do that, or he was an NBA player. I just have never felt that way in my whole life. I remember being a young woman, and I remember I had a friend that was maybe about 8 or 9 years older, her and her husband, and they knew this guy uh, that her husband wanted to introduce me to, who was a doctor. And she was like, well, aren't you nervous to meet him because you don't have an advanced degree and he's a doctor? And I was like, no.
Mhm.
Why should I be?
Mhm.
I don't base my worth on my degrees, my education, or my lack thereof compared to someone else. I don't compare myself to people like that. What I do compare is, do we have comparable values? Do we have comparable core values in terms of integrity and
Mhm.
in terms of how we treat people? That's what
Mhm.
I look at. So I'm not never really impressed. I would be impressed. I'm not going to say, like, if I meet somebody, my biggest thing is probably the authors that I met through the years, right?
Right.
Because I love literature. But just
Mhm.
to say somebody's a ball player or even a doctor, I'm not going to get all excited about that. You're just a human being, just like I am.
Right.
you know so,
Right.
but anyway, so we were going to, let me go back over here to notes. And we're talking about vetting, and I was sharing with some of the notes that I wrote down. Let me get back to those.
Mhm.
So some questions that we're going to continue to ask as we vet this date is, um, we want to know about his or her exes and the
Mhm.
state of their relationship currently, and how those ended to some degree, right?
Right.
And the guy that says, I think this was so funny. I got to share this. The guy that says that all of his exes were crazy, my friend says, unless they were professionally diagnosed as bipolar or schizophrenic, then he's probably suspect for having made them crazy.
And that's true. I agree with that 100%. There's two problems I have with that. Number one,
Hmm.
yeah, we are not getting her side of the story, so he probably did make her crazy. Or
Hmm.
two, she's probably not crazy. He's it's him who has the
Right.
problem. But the bigger issue I have is, even if that is the case, so say you keep getting these people and they're quote unquote crazy.
Right. Because that we
You're
know that's not an official diagnosis. That's just.
exactly. So
Hmm.
then now we got to find out what's going on with you, because you're picking these people. So you didn't learn from the last time, and you have to be accountable for the decisions you're making. You're making some of these decisions
Mm.
here, right? You're deciding on these crazy people, all these crazy women. But usually that just means they're full of it. They have a lot of game and they play around too much. That's usually what that means. But I always, when people say, I keep meeting all these crazy people, it's usually them. It's usually them.
Right. And
Yeah.
then I go back to now. So talking about my dating, Jeremy, if you're out there still, yeah, I dated a doctor, and
Uh-huh.
he taught me something very important that I've remembered and has helped me through my health journey, and it has helped me through my dating process and in understanding men and people. So when he was a young medical student at Howard University, right?
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that the term hysterical, the word, when you think of hysterical, if you close your eyes and you think for a second of the word hysterical, what picture comes to mind? What person comes to mind?
Quote unquote crazy. Somebody that's the picture they give you. Someone that's just like
Right,
yelling and screaming
but it,
and
but okay, yeah, yelling and screaming,
mm-hmm.
off balance, emotionally unstable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to look at that vision a little bit closer, is that person male or female?
Female.
And why? See there, look, oh, I love this, I love
No,
this.
it's because that's what we've been shown. I know it not to be true, but that's what we're shown.
But do you realize that the word hysterectomy, hysterical, what do they have in common when you talk about roots of words?
His.
Right. Okay. And so
Mhm.
it's tied to women. And so anyway, so when he was in medical school, he was explaining to me, and this is where I really began. I mean, like when he said this, my whole world changed. I mean, like I wish it takes me back just even thinking about it. I get sad. So one of the reasons why in society, and I know this is off topic, but this is just to make a point.
Mhm.
Society is patriarchal, right? We know we live in a patriarchal society, right?
Mhm.
And so society has certain conditionings that we've all been subject to from the day we were born, right? We
Mhm.
know that racism is a construct, right? Race is a
Mhm.
construct and racism is a construct. And if you come up under it, you're conditioned to feel that a certain race is higher, better, smarter, stronger, everything than these other races over here, right? But the same thing with the word hysterical and with women. So in our society, we have always been taught that women are ruled by their emotions and that they cannot be logical and rational.
Right.
And so I say all this to come back to the whole point of it is that that in dating, when a man starts to talk about that all his exes were crazy, you
Mhm.
really need to understand that basically what he's saying to you is that he's misogynistic, and that
That's
when he's through with you, you will also then be crazy.
mhm.
That's what that is.
That is
Quite
true. I
quite
agree.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. All things can be true, though. Yeah, believe he's playing mind games. I believe he may be being dishonest. I
Hmm.
believe he's the one. It's usually him that's gaslighting her to death, and now all of a
That's
sudden she's crazy. Yeah, I believe it's a combination of all those things. But I agree.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And what you just said, that last thing, gaslighting, because a
Yeah.
man who will say that all of his exes are crazy, he's gaslighting them. He was the one
Hmm.
that was playing games in their faces and always telling them, well, no, I didn't say that. Or no, I didn't do that. You didn't see me do that. Were you there
Hmm.
when I did that? No, I wasn't cheating with that woman. No, that wasn't me. And we all
Yeah.
know that song. Most of us in the African American community know what's that song? It wasn't me.
Mm,
If you
it
walk in
wasn't
and
me.
catch me, you catch this guy and he's actually screwing your best friend, and he'll look, and you see him. You could take a picture of him. He's going to claim, no, it wasn't me. That's
Mhm.
gaslighting, right?
Mhm. It
And so
is.
it all ties into that hysterical. No, you're right. It's all of those things to what you're saying. But when this friend explained this to me about how this went in medical school and why women aren't taken seriously when they have health issues because they're considered hysterical. And any of you women out there that have ever been to the doctor and the doctor said, it's all in your head, because there's some of them will say that.
Some of them will.
Some of them will say that. So,
Mhm.
but but as we move on down this list, oh, and here's a thing that I almost forgot because this should have been at the top. My
Mhm.
friend says that you need to make, when you're having these first early dates with this man or this person, you need to let him know right up front. Don't be shy. I think it's so funny that in our society, some women have more boldness to take pictures of their body parts, right? Their
Mhm.
private, intimate body parts, and share them with almost a stranger through texting or whatever, or sexting, right? But
Mhm.
yet they are so afraid to tell a man that my safety is the number one priority. And the reason why I'm asking you these questions and I'm getting ready to interview you, if you will, is because my safety is the number one priority. So we know these online dates should be where, Sonia, when you're meeting someone a stranger that you just met online on a dating site or on Instagram who's been in your DM and you don't know them from a can of paint, what do you
Mhm.
suggest people meet these dates at?
Anywhere public. Anywhere public. Never at home. Never have a first date at home. I know some people going to disagree with me. I know some people have done it, but I do not believe in having first dates at your home. You don't know this person. So anywhere public. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
You,
And
yeah.
and do we, and Sonia, do we give out our address? Because maybe
No.
right, right, right. We're going in separate cars, separate vehicles, right? And the ladies,
Mhm.
if you're really smart and if you really, 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 really care, I think it's important if you say, let's say the date is at 6. First of all, we're meeting in the daytime, right? We're meeting
Yeah.
in the daytime. It's not even going to be close to night. So let's move that up. Let's say we're going to meet at 4. It's on a weekend or a day that you're off.
Mhm.
So let's say we're meeting at, or even earlier too. A lunch or
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
a coffee situation, right?
Mhm.
For me, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I'm not drinking. I don't know you, so I'm not having any kind of alcoholic beverage, no
Right.
substance uh, uh, to weaken me or make me less observant or on my A game, if you will, right?
Mhm.
And we're meeting in public, like you said. It's going to be probably some big place with lots of cars. People like to use malls, restaurants in malls if they still have them. I haven't been to a mall in a minute, but
Mhm.
because that way, when you finish having that cup of coffee, or even if you're going to have a sandwich or a salad or a bite to eat, right, and you're going to talk for a while,
Mhm.
that when you get up and you leave and walk away, you're very conscious and aware that he's not able to follow you, because maybe you want to pick up a slip or something or a book or whatever you want to pick up in the mall that you need or whatever, right? So you
Mhm.
spend some time and then you're going to your car. It's still daylight, and you're just very aware, because the last thing you want is some guy that you don't really know following you home, especially if you happen to live alone.
And that's true. You know what? I actually, when we find out the place, I get there early.
Yeah,
I
that's what I was going to
park.
say.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I park. I'll try to park away from the door, but where a camera, I try to find a camera or where I
Ah,
think a camera would be, and I
good
park
one.
in that area. So if, just in case. So I always park near a camera. I get there early. If so, story time. I went on a date with this guy. Asked him. I let the man do the planning. You plan the date that way you can plan for your budget, so you don't think I'm trying to take you for your money. Um, he's like, no, I want to take you. I want to, whatever you want to do, we could go wherever you go. And I was like, well, here are some options of restaurants that I would like. One was a new restaurant, and one is the place that I like. The chain is a chain. It was J. Alexander's. No, we're gonna go wherever you want to go. We're gonna do whatever you want to do. You want this new place? We're gonna go to this new place. So we get there. Now I've spoken to him. I actually met him at a birthday party, so this wasn't my first time seeing him or anything. We get
Okay.
to the restaurant. He's ordering all the things, right? The most
Is he ordering
expensive.
all of them for you, or is it what? I mean, who's eating all this stuff?
He's just like ordering the most expensive. He was showing off. He was showing
Oh,
off. He's ordering the most expensive date, the most expensive food, the most expensive steak. He's ordered a scotch, and if you drink scotch, scotch is usually expensive.
oh,
He
I
was
know.
he was
Yeah,
going to town, right? But
right.
I saw him like I saw his energy shift
Okay.
when it was time for the dessert to come out.
Uh-oh.
And so I watched him and I didn't say anything. I'm like, okay, let me see what's happening here. Um, I got up, I went to the ladies' room and I let the waitress know. I said, this is my first date with this guy. I said, if he tries to run out on a bill or something like that,
Because that's what I'm seeing coming down the
I
pike
will
here.
pay for my half, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I've never had this kind of issue, like men not wanting to pay for date or feeling like the first date we need to have sex. I've never had that issue, but this guy was giving me, he was giving me the vibe. So I let the waitress know that, like, you can split the check in half. I'll pay my half. I'm just letting you know this is the first date. Like, I don't know him.
Right.
I come back, and he was like, I hate when this happens. I said, really? What is that?
I know. I saw it coming when you started saying he's ordering up the biggest steak fit for 10 people. Okay.
So I said, so what happened? He was like, oh, I'm a little short. He was $7 short. And he was like, I'm short, and this never happens to me.
Mm.
And I was just looking at him because first off, this date was planned like a week in advance. So you didn't check to see what the menu was, what the prices were, make sure you have backup money. And then why are you ordering? Because I didn't order. Like I want the biggest steak. He was showing off. Anyway, I paid the $7 plus the tip. I blocked him. And that was it. That was the beginning and the end. I was
Oh,
like,
that's
you and I
funny.
won't go on another date. Because for one, you're trying to show off and you didn't have to. I gave you options. Like, I'm not trying to take advantage of you. I don't feel like it's flattering for you to try to impress me in this way. And I feel like you don't know how to manage your money well. I feel like you're not serious. Like, you're telling me a whole lot just in this moment. So that was
Hmm.
it. That was it for Mr. Man. But yeah.
Wow. Isn't that
Yeah.
something? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I get
Yeah.
there early. I talk to the people.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's a good. Oh, you know what? You just gave me another one that my friend did not. You did not give me this one, Dougie, but from my own memory.
Mhm.
Also, always let people know where you're going to be. If that seems like it just maybe sounds common sense and just everyday or regular, but I don't know. People today enough times let people know where they're going, and this goes for even if you're not dating. Just sometimes if you're just out and about,
Mhm.
it's good to let people know, hey, I'm running out to the store. I'll be back in a little bit. If you live, especially if I guess I'll say it this way: if you live alone, because, and if you live with someone, obviously, I'm hoping that you care enough about the person you live with to kind of let them know where you're going and when you're going to be back, right?
Yeah. No, I listen, I tell my friends his name, I send them their phone number.
Mm.
They
Oh,
get I give out all the information, okay?
that's
I'm like,
it.
this is
That's
phone
it.
number, this is his name, because I get your first and last name. Because you
Hmm.
always get that one friend that's a private investigator. And so I need my
Mm.
private investigator to go look, we're in Michigan. Let's go look
Hmm.
at Otis and see if we I'm
Yeah,
looking
you
at
do it.
police.
Your friend, your investigator friend is doing Otis, and then I got my policeman buddy over here doing the lean check because like I'm looking up stuff. I'm like investigator online. You'd be surprised what you can find out online
You
now
sure
that
will. You
because
sure
people
will.
now they'll Google everything but the person that they're seeing. Like they're
Mm-mm.
seeing this person for 6 months and they've never double checked. Like when I think about winter, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, I'm gonna just keep coming back to this winter till you come on here and explain yourself that she was married to this whole entire man and had never been to his physical space where he lived. Like I don't get that. And you can't tell me because it has to do with the panorama that she says that she didn't go because you know what? You married this man and there was still a panorama. So come on now. Help me with
Mhm.
that. Help me out
Mhm.
with that. Help me out with that winner.
I don't know how
Um,
she did that. That made no sense to me. She's like, "Well, it was a pandemic," but I'm like,
no. No,
that's
she
even
went.
more reason why you should have taken your time and vetted them.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. And
So.
do you know what you feel like? I think she has kind of opened up a little bit and explained this and so being a church person, I kind of get it, but I think that things have too evolved now for us to still be using our country, southern, old timey church ways in modern 2020, 2022. I'm sorry. So, like, what she was basically saying, what I got out of it, I'm gonna give you the short version, is that because she met him in church, we're gonna assume people are just gonna make the here, and this is where, to me, where storytelling comes in. So
Mhm.
you're in church, you see a nice looking guy, or you're attracted to this guy, he comes over to you, however they met, but he's in
Mhm.
church, so you assume that that he is a believer, that he's a good person, and that he's following all the laws of the land and just has the highest integrity. You assume that. Now, I grew up in church, okay? Anybody knows anything about Church of God in Christ, okay? Kojic Church, Church of God in Christ, one of
Mhm.
the strictest back then, in the 70s, one of the
Mhm.
strictest denominations you could belong to. Couldn't wear lipstick, couldn't wear makeup, couldn't even
Mhm.
wear black stockings till you got to be a certain age. And even then, it was considered kind of like, you're really trying to get
Strange.
attention here when you're wearing
Mhm.
the black stockings on your pretty legs, right? But
Mhm.
even I know that there are wolves. There are all kind of wolves, and I wish Alex was here in this moment, because I forget what he calls it, but he calls it. He had a term for it the other day when we were talking about this with winter. I forget what it's called, but there's just a certain kind of element that will go into the church because they know that the women typically, like myself, I grew up very sheltered.
Mhm.
A lot of things I was not allowed to do and partake in, and so you sometimes don't have the wisdom and the street sense that other people have, but just using common sense, okay? Like, if you've never been to somebody's home, how do you know that they don't even have a whole wife at their house and 20 kids that are
Mhm.
theirs?
Mhm.
How do you know? Not know, right?
Right. And you don't know who they have in their home. You don't know if this is their home. There's a lot you just don't know about people. I used to, I'm a nurse, I'm a registered nurse, and I used to do home care. And when you go into homes, it's eye opening. You don't
Mm.
know. And I
Wait a
had a
minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Right. So you go into their homes. What kind of things can you learn about a person in their home? Tell me that.
You can learn about, for one, who's all there. You can find out if they have substance issues, right? You can find, I'm so, as a nurse. Now, when you go into a home dating, again,
Hmm.
that's a different story. But when I go into homes as a nurse, those are the kind of things you see. You find out who really lives there, how they're not paying bills, or whatever the case may be. You really, really get to know a person when you go into um their homes as a nurse. As dating, any now in the dating phase, people spruce things up and make things look good for a while. So that's going to take some time. But just as being a nurse going into people home, you learn a lot about people. Oh, it taught me a lot about people. I found out a lot of people are hoarders. I found out a lot about people that way.
But I think that some of what you're saying, whether it's nursing, and in-home care, or whether it's dating, I think some of those same things. True enough, if somebody's dating you, they may take the time to spruce up, but they may not. I've heard the same horror stories. What you're saying, that people are hoarders, and in their dating life, somebody would discover that. But my point is that at least if you are visiting their home and you're having after you found out that they're safe, ladies. First
Yeah.
of all, after you've found out and vetted who they actually are, not their online name, not their digital name, not their
Mhm.
digital footprint, but who they actually are, right? And
Mhm.
then you're comfortable enough. And that's another thing. Let me get back to that. And I'm like, so if after you've done that and you're able to go into their homes, but I feel like you can find out a lot of things about a person in their homes. Like, for example, I remember years ago, again, before online dating, I was at a gentleman's apartment. We were both young. Um, and he had forgotten and left out the woman who he was actually with, who was out of town on business. He had left her photograph up in one of the rooms as he was doing the tour of the apartment. And I'm
Mhm.
like, who is she? So now, like, you're gonna have a date with me and invite me to your home so you can try and get into my pantaloons, but actually, in actuality, you're really with somebody else. Oh, thanks for letting me know. See, so you know, that's a
Now
thing. That's a real thing.
that is, and nowadays you don't. That is very true. Let me acknowledge that is very true. You can find out that they actually live with someone, or they're living with someone. Because a lot of times, if they're that kind of guy, they're living with a woman. But nowadays, you don't even need that. I had someone send me a picture, and as you know, us, Monique, private investigator, I'm looking, I like spread the picture out, and there's like Bath and Body Works everywhere, candles, all the scents matched up. So I was like, "So you're into Bath and Body?" Oh no, that's I just like to exfoliate. Blocked. I'm done with you. I'm not playing those games. So he took a picture to send to me trying to be sexy, and it turns out he showed me that he was in the bathroom and the bathroom was decorated, and I knew a woman decorated it. That's the long and short of the story.
Mm,
Hmm.
right. Oh, and you know what? And before I get to our next point, that's a very funny story too. It just makes me think about how things in a person's home can make you discover who they really are.
Yeah.
I was once had met a young man, and he couldn't wait. Like, we finally got to the point where we went on a date, and he was in charge of driving and picking me up. And I met my mom. At that point, my father had passed away. So now
Hmm.
it was my mom that you had to meet if you want to go out on a date with me. So mom had cleared him, and I had cleared him. And so now we were dating, like our first early dates. And on about the second date, he asked me if I would stop by, his apartment. And I'm like, again, just things that from experience and from your parents teaching you these things, that when a man invites you to his apartment or home, he's trying to get in your pantaloons. So I was like, no, I'm not, again, I was very, very strict upbringing, church girl. Like, no, I'm not going to your home, your apartment. But he finally convinced me. He says, I just want you to see it. This was his thing. I just want you to see it. And I promise you will be 15 minutes in and 15 minutes back out. Okay, so
Hmm.
I finally gave in. I trusted my instinct and I went with him. And the first thing, we pull up to this nondescript apartment building in Detroit. And I'm like, wow, it's just a very plain, not a luxury, nothing like, he wants me to see his apartment. I'm like, okay, what's there to see about this plain old building? But we get inside, we get to the door, opens the door, and wow, like, I mean, like, literally, like, this place was decked out, like, you living in the hood, but you are like hood rich, because you got like the best furniture. At that time, the furniture store, whatever, top furniture store that's no longer around, was just like, I think it was Hudson's. A lot of his things came from, if you remember, JL Hudson's, or Hudson's department store. But
Hmm.
anyway, he had it so well appointed. I mean, literally, like, I was just oohing and on. But the first thing what I learned about him, and when I asked him, I said, "Well, who decorated? Who helped you design this? Who decorated this? Your mom, your sister?" And in that moment, he did his hand like with a little limp wrist, and he said, "I did." His whole voice changed. He went from manly man to, like, just picture Wendy
I
Williams,
get
like,
it. I get it.
how you doing? I want to paint this picture for the viewers, like, since they can't see me. How you doing? And
How
I was
you
like,
doing?
how
That's what you're
you
talking about. The Wendy Williams.
Yes.
How you was
Yeah.
doing?
How
Hmm.
you doing? Yeah. He went, I mean, from just, I mean, his whole total dynamic changed in that moment. And what my mother had been trying to tell me about him, because when she met him, she told me as soon as he left the house, she said, "Baby, that man is sweet." And I didn't understand, because again, now, imagine now, I've led such a sheltered life, that because my mother back then, they didn't say gay. That's what my
Yeah.
mother would. That was a term that she would use, politely say, to be non-offensive to anybody out there that maybe or may not be gay. That was a term back in the 80s, that she would say, sweet. I didn't
Hmm.
get it, and I even asked her. I said, "Mom, what are you talking about?" And she could not explain it to me, because rest her soul, she wasn't about to get into homosexuality at that point with me. She just really wasn't.
Right.
But when I went to his apartment and he did that little maneuver and the way he said it, I got it. I came home and I told her, I said, "I get it, Mom.
Hmm.
I understand what you meant when you told me he was sweet." We remained friends for like over 20 years, and he married a woman, had a whole baby and a whole life that he was living. And then one day when they got divorced, he came back from his celebration of their divorce, and
Hmm.
we were talking, and he said, he went to Jamaica, and he said the natives were so friendly. And he said, "Aren't you going to ask me about the natives and how friendly they were, and their names or something?" And I said, "Well, yeah. Well, how were the natives, and how was she?" And he said, "Oh no, it was a he." And that's how he came out to me. But I already knew from 20 years ago. I was like, okay, I already understand who you are. You
Mhm.
just don't understand who you are. But I
Yeah.
get it. And, because he was trying to marry me for like the longest time. I'm like, dude, no.
Was he in the church also, did you say?
You know what? He was not at our church, but now that I think about it, years later when he became married, he got into the church. I don't know what because we met as literally as in our late teens or early 20s. I think I was 19 when I met him, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I don't know really what his church background was, but I do know, yeah, you're right, because years later, we he had invited me to his church, and I took a friend of mine at the time who was quite handsome, and
mhm.
that's all he could talk about. In fact, anytime I would bring a guy around him, he always thought that the guy was rather handsome, and I was like, what guy do I know that does this? Like, but I
Right.
just knew that that was who he was and what he was into. So I'm saying all that to get back to how we got onto that is being at this person's home illuminated something for me that I didn't see in the dates and the conversations that we had over the phone. I could not see that he was gay. I really couldn't. And I really will say, I have to say, not being funny, but I think that he had put on the very manly front for me for weeks, for days and weeks. He had put that manly front on, but it was something about his house and the fact that he designed it, and that it looked like, to me, when I looked at it, I thought of a woman would have decorated like this, not a man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tell a lot about a person home. That's a great story because that is true. You can tell if like what you found out that he was gay, that he lives with a woman and she decorated the house. All types of things you can learn from going into someone else's home. Another place that you can learn once you guys get comfortable, once you get established, once you feel like you know what, we're gonna move to the next level. I'm thinking about like committing or being more exclusive or whatever the case may be. Take a trip with someone.
Oh, girl.
Take a trip, take a road trip, take a vacation. You want to see some colors come falling out the sky, take a trip because so many things happen and you get to see how they handle circumstances, like how they
Hmm.
get angry, how they treat people, like how they really treat people. You get a glimpse of how they are when they're a little more comfortable. Because no matter what, even if you're on vacation, nasty habits are nasty habits. And get to see that they can cover it up more. They can kind of be on their best behavior when you're in their home, at least for a little bit. But
Hmm.
when you're on vacation, something about vacation, people just kind of get real free. But you really, really get to see a person and you can figure out if you want to be around them. Being around someone that much
Mm.
makes you realize like, "Oh, I can't be around you so long, I don't really enjoy your
Exact
company."
exactly, like overnight, or I tell you what, another thing, like you said, trips, road trips, being in the car. Because sometimes if you're flying somewhere, it's all, you're dealing with other people. But if you're in that tiny space of a car or whatever vehicle, and it's just the two of you, now you got to deal with one another. And
Yep.
even if you get angry with one another, something doesn't go your way. And you're right, because traveling a lot of times involves, everything has to be precise and on time. Was the layover late? Was the plane late? Was the train late? Or whatever it was. And or if you're traveling even in a car, you got to
Mhm.
stop to get gas. You got to stop, and you got to maybe grab a bite to eat. So there's so much, like you said, that you will really see in that person's personality that will start to come out that maybe you didn't see in just a 2-hour date. There's a question on the screen, that Jay Wiley wants to ask you. He says, Sonya, when these women are cool with having their date meet them at their home, what is their reason? Why are they willing to risk their safety?
I think some people don't even realize how much danger they can be putting themselves in. Some people are trusted. They trust everything this person tells them. You have to trust but verify. I say
Yes.
verify and verify, but listen to what they say. Don't tell them that they're lying. Oh, you're lying. But verify the information first. And then, unfortunately, this goes back to self esteem. There is this desire to want to please and impress you. So I'm
Mm,
going to bring you to my home to please and impress you. But that
mm,
is a huge say you don't if say things don't work out and you find out maybe on the third or fourth date that you don't
mhm.
really want this person. Now they know where you live.
Exactly.
And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. So I am against. I know some people have done it and it's worked for them, But personally, especially in this day and age, I would not have someone meet me at my home. You kidding me? I know a lot of people and they have never been to my house.
That's what I'm saying. Even as far as female friends,
Even
I
as
like.
far, yeah, you can't
I'm very
know.
particular who comes in my home. And for me, it's not. First of all, because if you ever even get invited, I already have agreed that you are safe. I've already vetted you. Trust me, you might not even know how many lean checks and what all and Otis checks that I've run on you. I
Right.
already know in my heart or feel in my mind and my intellect, not just in my heart, but in my mind, and I've done my research that you are safe. But if you
Mhm.
are ever so blessed to even be invited in my home, first of all, the other thing is that for me it's a spiritual thing. There are some
Yes.
people that I've known since childhood. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have them in my home because I don't feel like their vibe or their spiritual being uh it is a good aura to have in my home, if that makes sense, because my home is always my place my of peace and sanctuary. And
Yes.
so for me to bring someone in who is not peaceful, that's not going to happen. Not unless I'm under some kind of coercion.
Yeah, same here. I'm the same way. No, and I stayed near police, like police live where it near very close to where I am.
Hmm.
I don't share my location. And nowadays you have to be careful because these phones can do a lot. So you just have to be really careful. But yeah, I don't invite everyone in my house for safety reasons. And the same, Aubrey, I don't want your energy in my space. This is my safe
That's the word.
space and I
Yes,
don't want your
energy.
energy here, you know? So
Mhm.
I'm very protective of my home, and I encourage all people, even men, some men
Yes.
too. You guys bring the lady to your house. You want her to see your house. You cook her a little something. You're showing off.
Mhm.
She may not be quite right, or she has that crazy ex that she hasn't told you about that's
Oh, good
following
one.
them and all kind of things. Yeah, you really have to be careful. You don't know people. You have to remember that. You don't know people. You know what they've told you, but you don't know them. So
You
you need to
don't
really
really.
take your time. You're not in a
Mm.
rush. I rather vet you good early and then have something last or decide that we're not a good fit than to waste time or spend time and invest in you and then find out you're not who I thought you were. I remember I found out one guy, he told me when he was 17 that he had gone to jail for something. And I'm like, okay, it was 17. I knew his life
Mm.
story, his circumstances, right?
Okay.
But when I checked, no, it was very recent, and the things that he had on his police report let me know that there was a substance abuse problem. But looking at him, you would have never known. But
Oh
once I
wow.
looked, I'm like, all of this thievery, I know who does a lot of stealing. And so that was the end of that. That's what
Oh.
dating can be exhausting, y'all. I'm here to tell you. But you have to vet and move on quickly. You have to vet. People can appear to be whatever they want to be. You just have to be patient, take your time, use your discernment, pray about it, do your research, pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to your gut. Don't
I
move so fast.
I like it. And on that note, okay, so you just said another thing that was on the list that Dougie gave me. And that is always women, trust your instinct, your
Mhm.
intuition. God gave us intuition, and really, I don't know, you call it whatever you will. You may not feel like you have a connection. You may be an atheist, you may be agnostic. I don't know. But
Mhm.
I almost feel like it's almost like a part of the Holy Spirit. It just kind of opens up and gives you discernment. And I can recall at one point I prayed so fervently for discernment and for the Holy Spirit that at one point in my life, and it was so funny. So I was on the celibacy journey, and it was
Mhm.
literally, you guys are going to freak out. You're going to swear I'm making this up, but I promise you I am not. My right hand to God. I literally would see men and I would see a W on their forehead, like an invisible W. And, the W stood for whore.
Mm.
And that was the spirit really giving me that discernment that this person was not someone that was even worth my time to talk to. Because
Mhm.
if you're a whore and that's all you're out there looking for is to whore around,
Mhm.
baby, I ain't got no time for you.
Yeah,
Goodbye. Take
right.
care. You might think I'm cute. I might think you're cute, but you know what? We ain't got nothing in common.
Right, you don't align, and that's okay.
We
That
there
is
you go.
okay.
We do not align.
You do
But
not align.
I'm gonna go because you and I we could talk, and I love it that our viewers are in on this conversation. But I want to read some of the tips that they have come out with. They have come out with some really good tips. But I want to get you now this one. I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna come back to you, Robo, with the tip you wrote. I'm gonna go to Monique's tip. And she says, I haven't dated in a while. Oh, girl, you're young and beautiful. What you mean in so long? Do that mean like 2 weekends you've missed that you skipped dating? What does that mean? Because when I was your age, girl. Oh, anyway, but but I will always, and this is excellent because I used to do this too when I was young and I would go out on dates. I would always send two friends the guy's name, his phone number, and his life. Yes, bravo. I'm just giving you a
Bravo. Yep.
manual hand clap. Bravo. That's it right there. That's it. You have got
That's
to have backup plans. You've got to have your friends, and even letting these men know that, hey, yeah, oh, it's nice we're going out. Oh yeah, by the way, several or a few of my friends have all your information, so just so you know, let
mhm.
them know up
Yeah.
front, right?
Yep.
This is the one I want to get your thoughts on, and I think, hey, wherever it fits. Robo suggests that you bring a friend along for the first date.
It works for some people. I would maybe in the restaurant. I've done that where I've had somebody in the restaurant, but not with me
Okay.
on the date.
So like, oh, okay, so I see what you're saying. So the person, like, okay, let's say it's an online date. You and a gentleman have agreed to meet at 2 o'clock for a
Mhm,
Sunday brunch or what have you, right?
mhm,
The
mhm.
girlfriend is already at the restaurant at 1:30, 1:45. She's seated there and she's just kind of keeping an eye on things, and she's having her
Mhm.
own brunch, but she's keeping an eye on you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and if I need an escape, that she's gonna be it. But luckily that didn't happen. But yeah, I've had people come, but not on the date. And the only reason why I say I don't, I think especially younger, I think that's good. I think as you get older though, and you've learned to use your discernment, you need that time to kind of feel that person's energy, hear what they're really saying, and your third person kind of becomes a distraction because
Distraction.
you have
Yeah.
to kind of entertain them too. And when we get older, we quick. I'm trying to do this assessment thing so I can figure out if I'm going to move forward with you or not. So I do think that's great, especially like if you're dating as a teen, late teens or in your 20s. But right now I don't I'm mid 40, so it's up to the person, but I will definitely have someone there. I also give people my location and I make sure I call or text someone so they know where I've been dinged. I can ding from the towers.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So when you saying when you get to the date before the date starts or something like that, or even if you have to go to the restroom as ladies, we're always powdering our nose and go into that
Yeah.
restroom. So
Mhm.
then you can kind of okay, I got you. Good
Yeah.
idea. I like that one too. That's a good one.
Thank you. Roro, I agree. Roro said I used to go with a friend who was meeting me from online. And I think for online especially, I think that's a great idea. I'm not against it. I'm just, you know.
Okay. Oh, my buddy Dougie had to go.
Bye,
Yeah, I didn't.
Dougie.
Bye, Dougie. Dougie, I'm gonna have you up. You're gonna have to come up and talk to us. So again, I'm gonna share with the viewers again now that Dougie is available. He has an Apple podcast, and it's called Detroit Stories: The Killing of Daniel Thomas, and that's on Apple Podcast, guys. Detroit Stories. The killing of Daniel Thomas, and Daniel Thomas, that's a very big. So my friend Dougie, he's actually a retired sheriff, Wayne County sheriff. So
Mhm,
all of these stories, he knows them. If they were in and around the Detroit area, he knows them
mhm.
very well and may have personally worked on the case. So we'll have to go over and check out that podcast to find out exactly what was going on in, again, the Detroit Stories: The Killing of Daniel Thomas. And let me put that in the one of the. I'm really enjoying this. We're having a great time here.
I am
um,
too. Thank you for having me, and I love you guys in the chat. I'm
oh, this
enjoying the side.
Contessa.
The summer.
These are so many of my friends that in real life here. There's Contessa and also one of our esteemed moderators.
Hi,
Um,
Cadessa.
let's see, what is Roro saying? Is that what you were saying when you just read?
No,
Same
this is another one.
Aubrey. the except the women in the picture was his wife, who took their kids out of town to visit their grandparents. Oh my goodness. Oh my
Scandalous.
God. That's scandalous for real. Oh my
That's
goodness.
must that must have been from when you were talking about going to that guy's place.
Yeah, I'm behind apparently. I just looked at the timestamp on my so Dougie's been gone for a minute now. Ah, okay, and now I'm catching up. Okay, so this is from my story, my friend who turned out to be a little sweet.
Mhm.
Cadessa says, "Oh my."
Mhm.
Monique's over there laughing, and Jeremy Speaks says, "Now his inner black woman." So yeah, exactly. That's what I felt like. I mean, because he had, tried to portray this very masculine man. There were some things about him, again, because I didn't know a whole lot about gay lifestyle, or that men even did down low type of things where they have two lives, or they want to date women on the one hand but they're secretly gay, or they haven't, whatever his deal was. I never did figure it out, and I didn't
Mhm.
really care because we remained the best of platonic friends, so it didn't really make no difference to me what was going on in his bedroom. All I know is I wasn't going in there. So we can be friends, bro. Okay, we can be friends, bro, but nothing else is ever. And it would be so funny because he was always asking me, like when he moved to Boston, he was like, "Well, why don't you come to Boston and hang out with me? And we should really get married." And no, sir, we should not. We should not get married. Is what we should not do. But
And that's why I was wondering when you say that's why I asked if he was part of the church, because I'm like, I'm wondering, was he shamed or did he
mhm.
just not know? Had he not come to terms? Or was he shamed and felt like because I'm a church person, I have to get married and I shouldn't live this lifestyle? So I'm curious about that.
That's actually a very good question. And we have since lost contact due to things that happened. Not we really fell out or anything like that. But as
Yeah.
time went on, I think because the last I when I saw I talked to him, we were going through the country was going through like a recession, and he had a beautiful home. When he got divorced from the wife, because that finally fell apart, right? They were married for I think a good 10 years or so. Beautiful
Mhm.
son. I think, I felt like part of the reason why he got married was so he could have children, but because you can't do that, two guys and two women just can't do that, right? But but anyway, but he moved away. He was talking about moving to Atlanta. But so we lost touch with each other. But yeah, I never explored because like I said, so the weird thing was the first 20 years of our relationship, we stayed friends and we talked about everything. We talked about
Mhm.
dating. We talked about everything to each other as two friends do. So I never, because he seemed so uncomfortable with the whole thing that he was gay, or might have been leaning that way, because I don't know if he was acting on it at the time, right?
Right.
Um, I never felt comfortable to really ask him any questions, nor did he volunteer. So I'm that friend, like I'll wait for your cue. If you want to talk about it, talk about it. I'm not going
Mhm.
to judge you because I really can honestly say I dearly love this man. My children know him. They know
Mhm.
him as Uncle so and so, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's a term. I don't use that term uncle or aunt because we weren't related by blood, but that's not
Mhm.
a term I use loosely. So that meant that I really respected him because we had a friendship since before my children were born, right?
Right.
And I loved him. I loved his wife. But I never really understood what that really was about. Whether he was shamed or uh, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is a good question. I'm gonna try to go down some more of these comments, but then we're gonna get back to our notes because, girl, we're an hour in, and I don't know if we've even covered our notes yet.
Mm-mm.
Oh, Jeremy saying yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean, it's a true story. You can tell. That's one thing I always say about people I observe. If they told me a story, some people get bored. They say, "Well, you told me that story before." But I say that's weird because you know what? That's actually how you know a person is telling you the truth. If you've heard
Right.
their story more than once, chances are, and it's pretty much the same telling every time. Pretty much that's probably a true story. And that's something that was other thing about that is too, if you've heard me tell a story more than once, it's probably because it made a major impression
Impact.
on me. Impact,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, we're gonna remind people, please check the like button. Oh, I see some new people in here. Hey there, watching. Oh, for full support. Okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I will be doing the same. Oh yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Monique is agreeing with you, Sonia. Road trips will teach you everything you really need to know.
Everything. Yes. And you will find out if you like them or not. Yeah.
I think so. I think so. I'm gonna get through a couple
Mhm.
more of these, and then we're gonna get back to the note cards and get back on track. We're welcoming Esther. Hey, Esther. Roro for real is saying, I used to go with a friend who was meeting. Oh, who was meeting men from online. So, Roro, are you saying go out with a friend, or when you say a friend, so a friend that you were maybe possibly considering dating? So similar to my friend who was sweet. Are we saying?
No, on the first date, when she made the suggestion for the first date to bring a friend, she would go with her friend if they were going on a, date with a guy from online
Oh,
for the
oh,
first
right. Okay,
time.
I completely forgot about her earlier
Yeah.
suggestion. Right. Okay, so
Mhm.
she was the safety measure. Okay, got you.
Yes.
Okay, and we're gonna put your please sub to Sonya at this at her YouTube channel. Sonya, tell them the name of your YouTube channel, and then I'm gonna flip over to the note cards.
It's Sonya G at Let the Lady Sonya G of Let the Lady Speak.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ella.
Yep, thank you. And Tamara, hello. Hey there. Welcome in.
Hey,
Welcome in.
Tara.
And now when I go back to this and do this, it takes us back to note cards. And now we're going to slide on over to number 2. So what are some of the rules for the first few dates? Have we kind of covered some of them? Is there some things in your notes that you want to share with us?
Yes, don't tell your business. Be quiet. Learn to
What? Oh my goodness, what did you just say? So what are we talking about? Well, we got all these things because at this point we're still quizzing them about who they are, where they work, about their exes and the state of those relationships.
right, but don't tell too much about yourself. Don't come telling all of your traumas. Don't tell how
Oh,
everyone did you wrong.
girl.
Don't tell your whole life story. Don't tell what someone did to just
And
just
why? Okay, okay. Now tell them after you told them rule, you have to tell them why that rule. Explain that rule to because a lot of people, I'm surprised that a lot of people really don't get second or third dates because they do this very thing and they don't ever understand why that's wrong. Sonia, would you please explain to our viewers why that's wrong? That's the wrong strategy.
yes, for one, because you don't know. Let's talk about the safety measure first. You don't know them. My grandmother has a saying, if I give you this information, what are you going to do with it? What do you expect for this person to do? Why do you trust them so much? Which is actually a red flag, but we'll get to that later. Why do you trust them so much to tell them all of that? Really, what you're trying to do is protect yourself. And you're trying to tell them, I've been through all these traumas and I don't want you to be the next person that caused me these traumas. But the problem is, you don't know who you're dealing with. So if they are a manipulator, a predator, a narcissist, they're taking all of that information in and they will morph into the person that they feel or know you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until they love bomb you. And then next thing you know, you're in this toxic relationship and you don't know how you got here. So
Wait a
that's
minute.
number one.
Wait. Okay, so something you just said, so because everybody doesn't understand that term, what is love bombing?
Love bombing is when someone just constantly they are constantly complimenting you. And I'm not talking about regular compliment. I'm not talking about, oh, you look pretty, right? You could be looking crazy and be like, girl, you so beautiful. They're just telling you they love you, they want to get married, you the one for them right out the gate. They don't know you. And you know these compliments aren't sincere because they don't really make sense a lot of times, but they're going to keep throwing them at you. And it looks like this is a man who knows what he wants and he's serious and but he really doesn't know these things about you to compliment you on these things, but they'll keep doing them. So love bombing is someone who takes you on this whirlwind by throwing all this love at you, all these gifts at you. They're just moving really, really fast because the goal
Mm,
is to get you on their
mm,
side, right? Because that's
mm.
how, like, when we talk about abusive cycles, that's how we start that cycle. Because then later on, what they're going to do when they start tearing you down is they have you wanting to get back to the place where they were love bombing you. So it's a Jedi mind trick. Don't fall for it.
You know, again, you know what? I hate to keep using these reality shows, but guys, they come in handy because you know who I thought about when you said love bombing and you explained it. Winter and Kevin Williams.
I need to watch this because I what did he
Well,
We
I'm gonna tell you this. You may not have seen it, but for our viewers who come here and also follow our He Says She Said podcast with Alex W. Lee and with Jeremy Speaks TV,
Mhm,
um, there was a whole episode, probably about 4 episodes ago, 3 or 4 episodes ago, where there's a scene where Winter's adult daughter, who's like 19, 20 years old in college, she tells her mother, she says, "Mom, don't feel bad because Kevin, what he did was it's called love bombing. He was love bombing you the whole time you guys were dating, and that's why you ran off and married him so quickly, because he was love bombing you. He was
mhm,
buying her expensive gifts. He was telling her how beautiful she was, that she was the only woman in the world for him, yada yada yada."
mhm.
But I still don't understand how at almost 40, how we ladies are still falling for that.
Well, some people just wanna be loved, and they don't know. Some people really don't know, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately. You know, I was lucky to have uncles and things like that, but a lot of people didn't have that. A lot of people and a lot
you're
of people
right.
are searching for their father and these men. They just want someone to
Yes.
love them, you know?
That's a big thing in our community. When I run across women, because like I said, now the church community that I grew up in, which was pretty much all I knew for many years, I wasn't. It wasn't until I got to high school that I realized that people actually didn't grow up with their fathers in the home, or that their parents got divorced when they were young kids.
Mhm,
That there were various states of being in terms of family situations, because my core group of friends and girlfriends and guy friends, our fathers were all around us. They were the deacons in the church.
yeah,
They were in the choir. They
mhm,
were, men who were grounded and steadfast and dependable, right?
right.
And I mean, like, when I think of my godparents, my goodness sake, they've been married over 75 years, still alive, both of them in their 90s. Okay. So
Mhm,
I mean, like, we came from a church where one marriage was pretty much the rule of thumb.
mhm,
You had your children inside of marriage. That's what it was. But
right.
you're right, a lot of young women, and unfortunately, for women and for men that grew up in homes where there wasn't a father figure, there wasn't this masculine and feminine energy inside their home, they really don't understand what that thing is. They don't understand what it, like, we touched on this earlier when we were talking about dating and about healthy relationships. A lot of people didn't grow up with examples around them.
Right, and it's true. Or it's a two-family home, but the father isn't emotionally present, or the mother
Mm,
isn't emotionally present, or
okay.
the father isn't physically present because he's the provider and he works like 2 or 3 jobs, and there isn't a relationship there.
Mm,
And,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
because I grew up in the church as well. I grew up we were supposed to be non-denominational, but it was Pentecostal. And
Okay. I know that too, right? Yeah.
yes. And so it was a lot of that there, where, you know, my grandfather, for example, he was always doing something with the church. He was present in our home, like he did homework with me. And then my biological grandfather, he wasn't part of the church. He did whatever he wanted to do. But my granddad would always be gone. He had to make a big effort to spend time with us. But for some people, that's not the case. Some of those men would work all the time. They just weren't present. And a lot of young ladies who grew up in the church, all they knew is that you're supposed to get a good man. I had to learn this the hard way. I would just hear if he's a good man and he treats you well, then that's the
Hmm.
man you should want to be with, right? But a
Right.
good
But
man
what does that mean? What
what
does a
does
good
that
man
mean?
mean?
Exactly, and one thing I had
Hmm.
to know to do and teach people to do was, although he's a good guy, he could really truly be a good guy, that does not mean he's the one for you, because you get yourself
Yes.
caught up, and that was when I was young, teenage young, but you're like, "He's a good guy, he could be my,"
Hmm.
you don't they may not be the one for you. But there are a lot of people, getting back to the subject, there are a lot of people who are unaware of what a healthy relationship looks like, or a healthy father figure looks like, even healthy mother figure, because some of these mothers, they're not doing the best either in their
Mm.
relationships with their children. So, you know You never know where a person comes from. You got to figure that out. That's part of your vetting. You need to know what their home life was like and how did they feel loved and things like that. You need to find those things out.
And sometimes that even takes a while because, to be honest, and I'll say this, I'm not saying that all two-parent homes are created equal or that they're perfect. No family, necessarily a family life, is perfect. Because you will find that, maybe there were things going on behind the scenes. You can meet somebody's family and they seem perfectly normal, and
Mhm.
then you find out that the father is emotionally abusing his wife and the children. So you really don't know. But on
Yeah.
that note, we're going to move on to how to protect your heart, because I think you had some thoughts that you were kind of touching on in the last topic of the rules for the first few dates. How to protect yourself, like you were saying about not giving away too much personal relational information about yourself, so that that person can turn around and manipulate you and hurt you in the same way that you've been hurt before.
Right. And then the other thing on top of that, know
Mhm.
your kryptonite. So know what makes you really fall. Start to learn what really makes you fall for some. We all have that one thing that just makes us kind of weak
Mm,
to the knees, right? You need to know what that is
brains,
because you need to be able to manage that. You need to be
brain.
able to check it. You have to know your kryptonite. And the number one thing about that is don't give that secret away. That you lock your heart key away. You put that away. Lock your heart up, put the key on the shelf somewhere until you're ready. Don't give that away.
Oh, okay.
You can be transparent. You can talk about yourself. You can say little things like if he asks you, what do you like in a man? You can say, I like a guy with a great sense of humor. But that doesn't great everybody can have a great sense of humor. That does not
Yeah,
mean
that's kind of generically accepted. Yeah.
it is, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, he has a great sense of humor," and then that they want to be with. I had someone tell me that the person like cats, and that's why they. I'm like, but okay, they like pets. Who is this man? That's what you need to try to figure out. Who is this man? So you can't be swept away by the smallest thing. So that's why you need to know what your kryptonite is, so you don't give that away. You can share some things about yourself, but you don't go too much in depth. So you can say, I like a gentleman, but you don't go through and say
Mm.
somebody who gives me flowers, someone who does. Find out if he knows what that is, but don't again say everything. You gotta let the man kind of do some work. Let him do
Let
some work.
him.
Let him figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
don't give everything. Some people come and they put everything, they put their whole life. They be like, here,
Here's the key to my heart.
here's the
Here
key
you
to my
go.
heart. Here's all my business. You're
Hit.
gonna know everything about me. And then
Mm-mm.
you're telling them all of this. And what happens a lot of times is people will mirror you and mirror what you want. And again, you can end up with someone whose intentions aren't good. You need to know this person's intention before you give away the keys to your heart. Like this is what when you start giving away the keys to your heart, we're talking about I know who you are, I know what your intentions are, I feel safe with you on all levels, right? You've been
Mm-hmm.
verified and certified. And that's when we start. If you know your relationship with sex, or can we say sex on YouTube? I don't know. YouTube's so funny. If you know that if you sleep with a man, that's your boyfriend, y'all gonna fall in love and be together forever, Mackie Dada, close your legs. Don't have sex with him.
I was looking at you. I'm listening to you, and between you and Misha over here making crack up faces, because when you put that your tablet up and you said like here's the keys to the kingdom, and you put that up to the screen, she just fell out. But wait a minute, I got to go back. She has said something. She says yes. Don't give out the answers to the test. That's it.
Don't give
That's
it
it.
up. And that is how you protect. Those are ways you protect your heart. And of course, pray.
Mm-hmm.
You pray, ask for discernment, ask for understanding, ask if this person isn't for me, please remove them. And the secret to that is once things starts happening, don't go try to save them. We do that sometimes. Like,
Yes, yes, we
we'll
do.
pray for them to be removed and then they act up. And then that's a sign we need to remove them. Then like, but wait, but what? No.
What about this? What about that?
Mm-mm.
He grew up in a poor neighborhood. He
You
grew up
start.
in the
Mm-mm.
ghetto.
Mhm. And that's why you don't like listen to his story, give him some room and empathize with his story, but that is his life. You don't owe him anything.
No,
or her. So don't get, because
that's
some men
right.
have saver complex. They're trying to save the woman. They
Mm-hmm.
and then they get themselves in situations they don't want to get themselves in. Same with women. Okay, he had a hard life. Things did not go so well for him. That does not mean that you are going to come and save the day. You
Mm-hmm.
can't save him. You cannot
Right. Right.
save them. I'm gonna save them because it's men and
That,
female.
that men and women. You're right, because and to that point, Monique is agreeing with you. She's saying that chameleons change into whatever you say you like.
They
And that's
will.
why you don't. And I'm gonna tell you another thing, just on a straight dating tip, nothing to do with safety. And I want to veer off for just a second. Nothing to
Mhm,
do with safety, but also let's be honest, ladies. One of the reasons I think modern women have trouble dating is women have forgotten how to be feminine, number one, but
mhm.
they've also forgotten how to keep mystery in the dating game.
Yes,
Dating is actually a game. And
it is a game.
if you're not being mysterious and you're putting all your business out for the man to know, honey, he's probably not gonna pick you. Okay.
No, no, and I'm here to tell you, mystery is important. You should always, you are onion. Let him pull back those layers. Take your
Let,
time. Take your
mm-hmm,
time. Don't rush and don't
mm-hmm.
allow him to rush you. You get to pace the
Yes.
relationship. And I want to bring this up
Mm-hmm.
because my friend told me I should. Celibacy talk.
Oh,
Be
yeah, good one,
careful when
good
you
one.
start to don't on that first date, but I'm celibate. I'm abstinent. They don't need to know that y'all not having sex. Don't tell them anything about your celibacy. Because for some people, that is the sign to say, okay,
It's a
now
test.
it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a competition. Now it becomes a game. Now it becomes a hunt. Now I'm trying to get it. Everybody isn't going to receive it the way you're trying to give it, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about celibacy on the first date.
Well, not on the first day, but that's a good question. So let's just say, just a hypothetical scenario. Let's say a young lady and a young man, or middle age or whatever age, because people are dating, at all different ages and stages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's say the two people have been dating. They're on, let's say, like about the fourth date. They've gotten past the vetting. She knows that he is actually who he says he is, and vice versa. He knows that she is who she is, and everything is looking good. Now, let's say this young woman or this woman, for whatever reason, is abstaining from sexual relations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when does she? When does she talk to him about this? Because certainly I'm thinking myself, honestly, I'm thinking if he's a red-blooded man, chances are if they're on the fourth date, he's probably already pushing up on her, right? And
Right.
so what how does that look for someone that's on a fourth date? They're going to have this conversation of, you know,
If it's the
right?
fourth
Hmm.
if it's the fourth date and you guys have been like talking, it's been more than just these dates. You've been talking and having conversations, and he says that you want to take it to the next level, or he brings up sex. You tell him then. You can tell him then I'm abstaining. Know your intention. Now listen, don't say you abstaining, but if you trip and fall and you fall and trip, then it's hay because that don't
What?
say that. Even if you believe that, don't say
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
Because some people know your intentions and let your intentions be good. If you are really truly waiting for marriage, then wait for marriage. Because what you don't want to do is make him think. Men think like, oh, she was just trying to fool me, and then it causes trust later
Yeah.
on. So don't
Well,
if
I mean, because what if you're on that journey, but let's be honest and real now. You could be so attracted to this person that, like you say, you could slip up. Most people don't really know, in my experience, and this is just in my experience, so this doesn't make it factual, nor have I
Mhm,
done a statistical study on it. But most
mhm.
people honestly don't know how to walk an abstinence walk and stay on it. So, what are you saying, that if somebody is practicing abstinence, that they shouldn't say that they're practicing abstinence? I'm not sure what you're saying.
No, I'm saying you should tell them. That's what I said. Like you were saying the fourth date. On the fourth date, if you're like, okay, I'm feeling away, or it comes up, then okay, have that conversation. I mean, it doesn't. when you guys are deciding you want to take your relationship to the next level, you're really into him, he's really into you, the feelings are feeling,
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation. Because if he's getting to know you, and if he's getting to know you at this point and he really likes you, the woman,
Mm-hmm.
then if he's okay with that, he may be willing to take that journey. But then again, he may not be willing to take that journey. And that goes back to always being willing to walk away. You got to be willing to walk away. Abstinence and the celibacy journey is difficult, and that's why I say is be careful about when you talk about it, because once you say that, you really have to hold yourself to that. um again, because you cause issues with trust, or you ignite his challenge. Now he wants to challenge you. Some people are like, I'm just gonna prove you wrong. It does something to people. I don't know what that is, but as soon as you say it, they're like, okay, game on. I had someone, they told somebody they were celibate. This person had never told them anything about going to church. All of a sudden he wants to go to church, he wants to get married, blah blah blah. But that he
What?
wasn't serious. Turned out the man was already married.
Oh my
It just
goodness.
became a challenge. Just take your time. Just say, I'm taking my time. If you're waiting for marriage, say, I'm waiting for marriage. But if you're going on that celibacy thing, I get it. Make sure you practice it as best you can, for real, and make sure that's something that he really wants. And if it doesn't align, then you're gonna have to separate yourself.
Wow, that's a very good point. Give me 1 second. I'm getting something in here in the notes that I've got to say to uh, relate to what Dougie. Okay, so we were protecting heart, and then on our last one, what are the red flags not to ignore? And first of all, let me just say this. Can we just talk about, can you give a brief for those, again, for those people that don't understand the difference between a red flag and just not being compatible, what exactly in your mind, in your opinion, is a red are red flags?
Red flags are danger. Red flags are, this person could be abusive, this person could be not stable. This person can cause you harm. They can be a scam art. What was that guy that was on Netflix that everybody was talking about? The
Oh,
women,
the
was it
Tinder
Tinder Swim?
Tinder swindler. Yep.
Yeah. Red flags are hard stops. Red flags are danger. Someone who is just someone who, like, a height or weight, or maybe you guys aren't on the same page spiritually, right? That is, we're just not compatible. Right, we're not compatible. That's not a red flag. If they chew with their mouth open, that's not a red flag.
That's not
That
a red
is
flag,
that's
right?
not a red flag. That is something you don't like. You're not
That's a pet
attracted to someone.
peeve,
Right,
right?
it's a pet peeve. This is something you don't like, someone who doesn't have table manners,
Poor
right?
table etiquette, right?
Exactly. They're different. Red flags are when you guys go on your trip and you see him getting angry, or he or she starts like digging at your self-esteem, these under backhanded compliments, or tearing you down here and there, or you constantly find out that they're lying,
Mm.
or their
Let's
actions and their words don't line up.
Okay. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there because I got something on the screen. We want to come to that
Okay.
just in a second, but get back to stop right there, but kind of elaborate and expound on a person that is lying, that you catch them in lies, or that their words and their actions never seem to align, or most of the time they don't align. What is that about? What's the red flag about right there?
They're dishonest. They're dishonest. And so that means that person isn't who they say they are. So you don't know who you're dealing with. So you're dealing with a
Mhm.
stranger. So their motives aren't good. They have an alternative motive. And usually, if they're doing all of this, it could be to not to hurt or harm you personally, but what they do is hurt or harm people. What they do is manipulate people. What they do is abuse people.
Mm.
So when I know that if everything isn't lining up, I cut that short. Cut that
Mm.
short.
Okay. Cut it short.
Because you're not to be trusted. relationships need trust. If you want me to be vulnerable with you, I have to trust you. If you want me to share your, if you want me to take my key off the shelf and hand it over to you, I have to trust you. And I'm not trusting you. I don't trust you if you're lying. You're a liar. I
And
can't
that
do anything.
and that key you were referring to was the key to your heart, not the
Key
key
to
to
your
your
heart.
house. For
Key to
those
my
people
heart.
listening, because that's another thing. I never have understood how people meet somebody. I don't care if they're meeting them online, meeting them in person, meeting them at the grocery store, meeting them at school, meeting them at work, and the next thing you know, after 2 3 days, they're giving them the key and they're moving in. Like, really?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm so scared of that. And please don't have children and you moving these strange men into your home with your children.
Yeah.
But now I wanted you to address what's on the screen. If you want to read that, and if you want to give any
I
thoughts
think
that you may have.
I think a red flag is, yes, I agree with Jeremy. A red flag is someone who shows aggression early is definitely, that's a red flag, because
Hmm.
usually they have anger boiling up inside of them. Now I'm gonna talk about something. Y'all remember the whole Lori Harvey, Michael P. Jordan situation when they broke up and everybody was wondering what was going on. One thing, I don't know why they broke up. I know what they said, but I don't know. But one thing I heard him say time and time again in his interviews that was alarming to me was
Hmm.
he would always say he keeps everything in.
What?
Yep, he will always say that. That's why I say when you listen to people, people will tell you everything you need to know. You just got to listen. He will
Mm,
always say he keeps everything in. I keep everything in. That to me means equates to you don't know how to express yourself. So you probably have all of these feelings, emotions, problems, anger issues just festering within. Eventually that's going to come out. And again, it usually comes out towards someone that's close to them. So
right.
yes, Misha, that anger escalates. You can't have someone who's constantly suppressing things, constantly keeping all of their thoughts in. And so I'm like, I'm wondering, that's why you can't judge someone relationship. You don't know who this person is. That's why I won't let people hook me up. You don't know this person in a relationship.
Now you know what I have to say. Now that's her opinion and that's her preference, and she is certainly very much entitled to it as a grown woman. But
Mhm,
I must say, and I talk about this all the time. My own parents were put together by who later ended up becoming my godmother and godfather, and well,
mhm,
his sister. So they were matched on blind dates, didn't know each other from a can of paint.
mhm,
Uh, so it can happen, but I get what you're saying though. Misha Allen, getting back to the point of people that hold things in, that anger can escalate, and getting back to the point that you just made is very true. Is that people tend to take their anger out on the closest people to them, whether those people be a living girlfriend, a living boyfriend, a child
mhm,
that lives in the home with them. A person that
mhm,
lives in the home could be a elder person, could be a person they're taking care of. So a person
mhm,
with this kind of built up, pent in resentment and anger, let's say they're really angry at what's going on at work. They've been passed over for promotions that they believe that they deserve, and maybe, and
mhm,
rightfully so, maybe, but because of whatever reason, and then they come home, they're putting all that on their wife, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, their husband, their children. So that's a very excellent point. No, I never really. I'm gonna be honest. So I think we saw, at least for me, I saw two beautiful people, Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan. I find them, physically, aesthetically very pleasing, both
mhm,
separately and together. But
mhm.
I'm a person that I never judge people based on their looks. I never say to myself, well, because that person looks good, that must mean they're a good person.
Right. But they were, a lot of people were going by, oh, he did all these things to her, for her. He did all these elaborate dates. Again, that could be love bombing. We don't know. We
That
don't
could
know.
very well be. Yep.
It could be him trying to impress her because he knows that's what Steve does for Marjorie, and his that's his way of getting in. We don't know. But
Right. He could be
pay
trying to be impress them. Right.
Right, but when you listen to what he says, he talks about his issues with anger, and Misha put in there, he talks about, his depression, yeah, and for me, I'm curious, I wanna know, what do you really think of your mom? What is your relationship like with your mom? How do you view women? How
Mm.
how do you view women? How do women show you that you're loved? Like, those kind of questions give me more insight to your thought process and because there are a lot of men who are straight men. They have
Mhm.
sex with
Say
women, but
it.
they really don't like women,
Say,
you know?
say what I've been saying to women for the longest time. I say this all the time. There are men, they're not gay, they're not sugar in the tank, they're not sweet, as my mama used to say. He's sweet, baby, with her Texas accent. They're not gay, but they absolutely do not like women. And
Right.
they only use women for sex or to have to show other people that they are straight, but they
Mhm.
absolutely, and you can tell, like, I think a prime example, once again, a TV example, okay, if you will, is
Mhm.
Elijah Wan. Elijah Wan absolutely does not like women, in my opinion. He
Mhm.
absolutely does not like. He did not like his wife. He did not like Katina. He did not like the therapist, Dr. Pepper. He did not. He does
Mhm.
not respect women's authority. He did not even like. Was it Dr. Viviana? He
Mhm.
especially has to seems to have problems with women with authority and high ranking and high uh, uh, status. Okay, and you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not gonna keep. I see. I know we got a lot of stuff going on, and I think we got to because I know you probably have to go. Um, I'm just gonna hit a couple more. I ended a friendship over a friend hooking me up with a weirdo.
Weird. I'm telling you, I don't like people. I don't like people. You don't know those people. You don't know that person in a relationship. And then people get too involved. And I like to vet for myself. So I don't want you giving away too much information. I'm selective
Oh,
about what
that's
I share. And here you
okay.
think you're helping me and you're over here telling him way too much. For
Mm,
example, because I like a certain leadership style in a man, right?
okay,
There's
right.
a way that I know that type of man will approach a woman. If you're over there telling everything, then they may not approach me in that way. They may approach me in that way, sorry, because you gave them that information, but it isn't true to who they are. I tell my friends, but all my friends know, you don't tell anybody anything. If that person wants my phone number, they have to come and ask me my phone number. You don't pass out my phone number. Don't come give me his phone number because he should be able to come and speak to me because I like a certain type of leader, right? I like a certain type
Mhm.
of man. I need you to have a certain kind of confidence. And if you don't have that, I can assess that by your actions. And so I tell people to stay on my business that way. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mhm.
You don't give away any information on me other than my name. That's it.
You know what? That's a very good point. Now, Roro says, I don't know, Aubrey. Our best friends introduced me and my ex-husband who turned out, and I remember that story about him too. So we're not gonna go into that. But yes, he
Mhm.
indeed, from what you've said on even on this platform on a previous podcast, he was every bit of a monster, as was my ex-husband. But that's interesting though. So I guess I'm not gonna say, but you know what? I'll say this: nothing is 100%. If you meet
No.
somebody online, if you meet them for yourself at work, at school, and you meet them and you get to vet them and you get to know them, nothing is 100%. I'm going to say that. But I
Mhm.
guess, again, I'm partial to it because that's how my parents met. I have a very close girlfriend of mine when we were in our mid 20s. Very beautiful woman. We used to model together.
Mhm.
She ended up being a flight attendant. And on one flight, another one of our friends who we modeled with was hit on by this lawyer guy. That girlfriend was already engaged to be married, so she took the information and passed it along to our mutual girlfriend, and those people met and got married and are happily married now. What, like, I don't know, 30 years later, basically 3 kids,
Yeah.
30 years later.
Mhm.
So it's everything. There's no 100% on anything. So you're right. That maybe the meeting through friends. I think nowadays, though, I don't think people even try to do that anymore. So maybe that
Yes,
that
they do.
has went bad, left a sour taste on both sides. The people that did the matchmaking and the people that were actually matched. So that's
Yeah.
a very good point. We're gonna have to do a part two on this, girl, because we 2 hours and some change in, and I know you got to get moving. And but tell the people, if you have a moment, just tell them briefly how to reach you. And I'm gonna also put on the screen. I've got to do this because I promised him I would do this. He took the time to give me this information. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Where am I at here on my board? Rules. Okay. Oh, here's how to reach my great friend, the detective, and
I need to
his
write
new
this
and his
down.
retired life. He's now doing podcasting on Apple Podcasts. Please tell the people how to reach you also, and I'll put those up as well.
You can reach me on Instagram at Let the Ladies Speak. And you can reach me here on YouTube at Sonya G at Let the Ladies Speak. And hi to everyone who just came into the chat. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Kimberly.
Oh wow, this is so awesome. People are coming in, and we
Yes,
about to try to get up out of here.
I know.
But
Hi,
you guys,
Nicole.
listen, catch us on the replay. Please leave a comment. I'm sure. Would you mind coming back to the comment section and checking out if someone has comments and thoughts for you, or also I would like for you to drop in the comments how to reach you there also, because I'm having trouble on my board. There's so many messages. I'm having trouble finding where Monique. Oh, here's one. Okay. Uh, you can sub to Sonya G at here on her YouTube channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you would come back and you would leave something in the comments, then that way I could pin it, right?
Yes. I'll leave it
Okay.
in your comments.
Leave it
Yes.
in my comment section how to reach us, and guys, we're gonna slide on up out of here on this Friday evening at 10 o'clock. We're gonna slide on up. Sonya, I want to thank you once again. You have turned out to be a great co-host. Your information and your understanding of human psychology and coaching is just amazing.
Oh,
It's
thank you so much. I
absolutely
appreciate you.
amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. It has been my honor. I can't wait to come back for us to continue because you know all the notes I had, so I didn't get a
I
chance
know
to get
that's
to.
what I said.
But it's okay. We can
We
do a
gonna do
part
a
two.
part two. What do you say? Like maybe in a couple of weeks or so, we'll find time in your schedule and mine, and we'll book it in, and we'll just hey, I can always change the thumbnail. Part one, part two. That's what I love to do. Part one, part two.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes, or something that you guys want to talk about, and just put the questions and then
Yeah, well,
I
I
can
think I
address
think
them.
that there's so much stuff on this topic. Not to cut you off, but I think there's so much on this specific topic that a lot of people are struggling with that I absolutely want to get the rest of your notes, the rest of your information, and just go ahead and call it a part two. I think
Yes.
sometimes a simple thing is sometimes the best thing.
We
Uh,
can. And then also I'll have some videos coming up. But yeah, I want to have this discussion. I enjoyed you and I enjoy everyone in the chat as well. The chat is the real MVP. Let me just say that.
I know. Let me get a chat a hand. Let me give them a hand. Let's give them a hand. They are absolutely the bomb diggity. I'm gonna go over here one more time and see somebody gonna close us out with. Okay, we got beautiful discussion. Oh, Crystal Lynette is in the chat. Man, you did
Mhm,
come in late, girl. What's going on? What's going on with you, girl?
mhm.
Beautiful discussion. Sonya, you're the best. The ladies got all great things
I
to
love
say. Great
you.
discussion. Oh, wow. Awesome. 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 We're going to leave out of here on this one and we're going to slide on out, you guys. Here we go.
Bye.